Good evening and welcome to live show 28, live at the Church of Omnipollo. Are we excited, Bradley?
Mate, I can't tell you how excited I am. We've had a long, busy old day filming today, but I am super pumped.
It's been a very odd couple of days for me and Brad. We've been working on a super secret project, which we're going to be able to tell you about in about 2 weeks, we reckon. If you're part of our Patreon Discord community, you might have an inkling of what we've been doing. But we've been building a lot of things, we've been brewing a lot of things, and we've been sat in a lot of traffic trying to get to Wix.
Have you had a good day since you got home? I had a really nice surprise when I arrived home, Jonny.
What was your surprise?
Very, very late surprise. But I got my YouTube 100,000K about 5 months after yours arrived.
Yep.
No, look at that, man. Anyone out there who hasn't checked out Craft Beer Channel before, please like and subscribe. It's very appreciated. And we love it.
And of course, join our Patreon, which for $1 a month, you get access to our amazing Discord forum full of wonderful beer geeks talking about homebrew, talking about, we have a bottle share channel where everyone just talks about the beers that they're drinking and nerds out about it. We've got an Ask Us Anything channel where you can, you can ask us anything, and lots of other amazing stuff. And it's a super busy forum and full of lovely, very welcoming people. Enough nonsense. So today we are very, very excited to be joined by lots of people, in fact, from the Church of Omnipollo. We've got the founders, Henok and Karl, and then we're also excited to say that we have Sam and Marie who will be joining us from the church itself. Henok and Karl are on the road traveling, as is the way of the Gypsy Cuckoo brewer. But of course, they are slowly bringing everything in-house to their own brewery, and we're going to have a look at that and taste one of the first beers to come out of it, which is dead exciting. I'm really, really excited about that. So to anybody wondering, this is the drinking order. So we will be starting with their Swedish Ale. Then we will go to Boy, Gene in a Bottle, Tefnut, and then Plucking Feathers, and then probably straight to bed, I'd imagine, after that. Please, there are some strong beers here, so if you feel like you can't keep up, all of our live shows, after they're done, do go onto YouTube forever. So if you can't keep up, you don't want to drink that much tonight, it's fine. You can just crack it another night, come back and watch this again, and you can just watch the tasting notes that we give you as we go, so don't worry about that.
We had a good comment from Ross Porter. He just said, when do I turn my slushy machine on?
If you've got a slushy machine, I want you to email us, craftbeerboys@gmail.com, and we'll put a picture of it live. But I'm assuming that's a joke. But if it's not, even more respect.
I'm great. I've been trying to source a slushy machine from Japan, Jonny. I'm not sure I even told you this for our new gadget thing. Yeah, you can buy these little Japanese beer slushy machines from Japan.
I can't. Have you succeeded?
No, and I don't know if it's a current thing. It was maybe a promotional thing Sapporo did a few years back, but it's the website's in Japanese, mate. I couldn't understand it.
Well, there we go. Maybe at some point we'll have our own slushy machine. We'd love to flash up lots and lots of comments, so please do send in any questions you've got, although we will have an Ask Me Anything at the end where you can ask Omnipollo or us any questions. But yeah, just keep them coming, guys, and totally interact. It's lovely to see people chatting away with each other in the comments. You can also, if you want to get your question answered straight away, you've got a burning question to ask, you can use what's called the Super Chat, where you can donate a little bit of money, a little tip to us that goes towards the running of the channel, and you will get, at the next possible available opportunity, we will answer your question. We won't quite interrupt the flow, but the next break, we will get to it, and anything you donate is much appreciated. That keeps us going. So before we bring the Omnipollo guys on, the last thing I just want to say is a huge, huge thank you to all of our Patreons. You are incredible people, whether you're in the forum or not. Your money keeps the lights on, and it's allowed us to do this amazing project that we've been doing this week that we're going to be able to talk about soon, and it's dead exciting. So thank you very, very much for that. Is that all the business? Should we crack the first beer and then we'll get everybody on?
Apart from that, that is all the business.
Oh, Bradley, I've done the thing that we do in modern craft brewing now, where I just thought it was all going to be cans in my head.
Oh dear. So you're using your teeth, are you, to open?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Maybe ask your wife if you can use the edge of your table in your living room.
It would be baller if I could open it on our.
That would be great. Although I don't know what they cost to reorder, so maybe don't do that.
Do you know what? Oh no! Now my books are falling down. I'm such a big geek. I just had a Hermitus right next to me, so everything's fine.
That's a baller move.
So here we go. This is the first beer of the night. The Swedish Lerling. I think I put a typo in the comments. God damn it.
Should we green the screen out with this amazing glass?
There you go. Beautiful looking beer. Ever so soft taste there. Right. Oh my God, that smells amazing.
Oh, yes, I do.
Decoction on that for sure. Alrighty. So let's quickly go through some comments, check we've caught up on everything, and then we will be bringing the Omnipollo guys on. Somebody else using their Hermitus. It's the best bottle opener in the world, although we have a video about the best bottle openers in the world, so maybe we'll find something more. Hermitus Club. There we go. Everybody's got a Hermitus. And somebody also didn't have a bottle opener. So yeah, it looks like we're all caught up. No questions have come in. What temperature should the beers be? I think we'll ask the brewers. We'll save that one. So bear with us, Gemma, and we'll let you know. But the lager, nice and cold, 4 to 6. Although because we're drinking it now, we probably left it a bit late. Right. Okay. Without further ado, let's bring everybody from Omnipollo on. So I hope you'll all give a very, very warm welcome to Henok, Karl,
Yo,
and Sam and Marie.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah.
It's everyone. You bring 5 people on at the same time. Henok, who are you with? Let's start with that.
Yes, I'm with one of our best friends, Marcus Hjalmarsson, from highly famed and acclaimed Swedish brewery Brewski, found in Helsingborg. And
hey,
yesterday was a bank holiday in Sweden, so I couldn't resist the urge to drive 6 hours down to Helsingborg to brew a blueberry beer with this fella. So he's joining us today.
Amazing.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way to spend a bank holiday.
Yeah, I mean this year it's been crazy. So we've been traveling. I would say half of the time at least for the past 10 years, and this year obviously has not been about traveling, and so just coming, driving 6 hours to a place and being here for 2 days feels like a complete holiday and work packed in one. It's pretty amazing, actually. We're seated. I'm just going to show you the scenery just to give you kind of an idea of where we are. So this is a moss wall that we have behind us, and then outside here we have this beautiful bar that Marcus
is medieval.
Just closed up.
Amazing.
Yeah. I could shoot Camden out my window, but I'm not sure anybody wants to see that. Karl, where are you? You look like you're in a sauna.
Almost. I'm not actually sure where I am. I'm somewhere out in the sticks in Sweden, close to a huge lake. Seems to be some sort of cabin. Yeah.
You say that like you sort of woke up there, but you did.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
That's how I my holiday.
Is this like summer house? Because in like Sweden, you guys like have summer houses on islands.
Yeah, it's actually not my summer house. It's some friend's summer house. But yeah, yes,
awesome.
It's awesome.
Amazing. And Sam and Marie, you are in the Church of Omnipollo. I'm just going to put you full screen so we can appreciate the beauty.
Woo!
Wow.
We're up here. We're sitting in a completely empty, very shiny brewery at the moment.
Absolutely amazing. So, have there been brews going on this week, or is it just always that shiny?
I mean, we brewed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. Filled a big tank, 80 hectoliters tank, full with IPA, delicious IPA.
Of course, IPA.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we'll be coming back to you for a tour in a bit. Should we have a chat about the beer that we're drinking? Henok, you were saying, well, you were telling the story just before we came on. So why don't you start?
I mean, first of all, amazing to kind of have a catch up. I was trying to figure out when we had the last live tasting. Was it a year ago?
It was sort of a month or so into lockdown as we were all figuring out how we kept our businesses alive.
Yeah, we're trying to morph into this Zoom world that we're kind of still in, but also not. You know, a lot's happened obviously since then, but I think this tasting is pretty neat because it's you will be trying the first beer coming out of our system, which is, you know, in my mind, kind of the commissioning brew, which is when the engineers from Germany come over to see that the system actually works. I always thought of that batch as kind of a dumping batch, but I think that in my, you know, in true Omnipollo fashion, we kind of want to invite everybody to be a part of that first experience. So you're going to be the first people trying this beer. You know, there's obviously some people that have gone into our tap rooms in Sweden and tried it, but besides that, you're at the first export market where this reaches. The other thing that I thought of when I saw the list of beers that we're going to try today is that each and every one of these 5 beers are brewed in different locations, which I think is the quintessential reason of, you know, existence for a company like Omnipollo. Like, we're trying to transmit a message through 5 different breweries, essentially, whereas one of them is our own, you know, Church Brewery that Sam and Maria are sitting in. So it's I think it's going to be pretty epic to try these beers against each other. This first beer is and this is important. This is a Bavarian style lager. So we tried a couple of different definitions for this beer, and we got a very clear definition from our collaborative partner. Kamba, as you can see on the front here, is a brewery outside of Munich, also run by the very same people that provided us with our brew house and the rest of our brewery, a company called Braucom. And we had the privilege of doing a collaboration beer with them, and what better to learn from than to go to, you know, outside of Munich to brew a Bavarian lager. So this is, you know, I think quintessential for the style again. This is you said it right. It's definitely decocted, which we thought was more important than they did. But we decided that was a sexy thing to put in there. We also wanted to learn kind of the techniques and the ins and outs for our own lager beer at the brewery that we bought from them. This is, I think, the twist to this beer is that it's Swedish malts. We've never brewed with Swedish malts before. You know, this style is obviously about subtleties, and we went to a maltster not far from where I have my summer house, and not far from where Karl is now. Obviously, he explained earlier when we had the sound check call how he passed that on his way to where he is now. Like, it's kind of right in the middle of the country, a place called Varbokvarn, and they malted to our exact specifications, an extra light Pilsner malt to brew with. So that was a cool thing. And then Marie, you were there. So I think I should just make a quick kind of introduction. So Marie is one of our brewers at the church, and Karl has worked with Sam for, I want to say 7 or 8 years. I mean, we worked with each other for a long time. And you are our sales rep to the UK, and you also do a bunch of magical stuff at Omnipollo, which keeps our ship floating. But I want to kind of let Marie give a couple of more details around this beer, because she was in Munich to brew this beer.
Yes.
Putting you on the spot here.
Well, about the decoction that I remember you wanted to do a triple decoction, and they were like, no.
It's got to be Omnipollo, you know.
Yeah, we settled down with a single decoction. But yeah, it was super cool to be at the location where in the next room our brew house is actually being built, as we were in the next room where the brewery was brewing this beer. And it's a huge brewery they have, and I have to be honest, we drank beer, and I was doing also some drawings on the tanks. But no, it was super fun, and we learned a lot from the brewmaster Mikhail at the Kamba. Super knowledgeable. We asked everything that we could, so could take back to the church here, and so we could redo that, and we have a Pilsner brewed based on what we learned in Kamba, laying on horizontal tanks right now. That's exciting.
Amazing, yeah. Can you tell me a little bit? So, I mean, Henok hinted at it, but saying that you guys thought that decoction was more important than they did, because I think decoction isn't that common a technique now in Bavaria, at the very least. They've sort of, now that they have the right modified malts, they've sort of left it behind. But it does still add something, right?
I think,
sure.
Yeah, you wanna. Marie, you wanna hit this?
No, sorry. It definitely adds for sure. Some you can feel on the body when you drink it, and some of the taste of the malt. Sure. And as you said, the malt nowadays are modified, so it isn't like 100% necessary to do it. It is a tradition, and I feel like it's a nice tradition to just keep, also because it is a tradition. Yeah. I think so. And it's we did it here at the brewery with our new brew system, and I thought I had never done it before, and I thought it was going to be, lots of steps, and it's not at all. It's very simple. It's just keeping a tradition and a handicraft, in the world today.
So keeping that tradition, obviously, I mean, Omnipollo are known for pretty much tearing up all traditions and doing it completely their own way. But when it came to lager, you were really keen to hold on to something that maybe the breweries around there have let go of.
I think so, yeah. I mean, for us, it's like we want I enjoy the idea of like the craft and the brewing to be very traditional, but like breaking the rules in terms of the ingredients we use is one of them, obviously. In this specific case, like the big discussion was a single or a double decoction, essentially. And, I came from, from my perspective, it's like, this is a great thing. The whole brewery smells like freshly baked bread when we decoct, like from a very modified, pretty, I wouldn't say bland because we use a very good base malt, but still, like there is a complexity that you're adding to the process. So I figured, why not do, 2 or maybe even 3? You kind of want to add more of that. And for our collaborative partner, that was kind of a complete waste of time, and might even have a negative impact on the beer. But it's debatable, obviously. I've had beers, Pilsners produced with single or double. So anybody who wants to comment on that, please feel free.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to hear in the comments what notes you're getting, because a lot of people say that maybe decoction doesn't make that difference, or it's unnecessary, or that it can add sort of negative flavors. But as soon as I lifted that to my nose, I clocked 2 things, and one of them was that it's like soft, it's like brioche and caramel kind of thing that decoction always has, and you get it on Bohemian Pilsners.
That's it.
And I think it's brilliant.
We have one in tank now that, as Marie said, we've decocted, and again, like I got to be a part of that at our own brewery, and it's very, very clear how the entire place just lights up with this freshly baked bread situation, and it translates to the beer to some extent, I think.
Yep. Just to take a quick pause, because somebody asked a question about temperatures of the beer serves, and obviously if we want the stouts a bit warmer, what temperatures should we serve the beers tonight, just so people can plan ahead?
I mean, I'm a bit unconventional in that sense, but I think we pack these with so much flavor that you can easily afford cooling them down pretty like heavily if you want to. Like, I would drink this kind of cold. I would actually drink all of the other beers kind of cold, but put them in the freezer now, and you'll be good by the end of it. I think even the stout. The cool thing about stouts is they pour like motor oil when they're really cold, and then you can just like have it warm up in the glass. I actually enjoy that. And the other ones, for sure, you're gonna be overwhelmed if you drink these warm. That's what I think.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it that way. Yeah.
For both temperatures, actually.
Sorry, Sam and Marie. We're just some people are saying you guys are a little bit quiet.
Okay.
We'll get a bit closer and shout a little more.
Closer and closer, and we don't want to block the beautiful view. But
we've got some comments that are sort of saying that looks like a fake sort of CGI background because it's so beautiful.
I was just gonna say it looks like a complete fake background.
That's incredible.
It's real.
The symmetry in that space is amazing. It looks like a Stanley Kubrick film. It's amazing.
It does, doesn't it? Very.
Yeah.
The thing that I was most surprised about was that it's actually smaller than you think. It looks like it's this massive place, but it's just very compact.
It's a Swiss Army knife kind of situation there. Like every single corner is jam packed.
Getting lit in the church. Thank you, KCJ Bomber.
I love the comments.
We'll get
nothing
all
about decoction. That's good.
But can we add ice to beer? That's a classic question. Have you ever found a style where ice doesn't ruin everything?
Seltzer, for sure.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. Yeah.
There it is.
Not a beer, is it? But
no, but we made a seltzer. Sorry, Sam. We made a seltzer that was.
It's the classic Zoom.
Sorry about
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to take this question. So both Sam and Marie have worked at Omnipollo's Hat, which is kind of like the beauty of this company that is Omnipollo in a way. It's like, yeah, we just move around. So you've definitely seen Marie at Omnipollo's Hat, I would say, if you think so.
And we all hang out at Omnipollo's Hat all the time. Marcus as well when he's up in Stockholm, right, Marcus?
All the time. Fucking love that place.
So Gordon Mogg says the decoction on it has really worked. Why did you want to go for the extra pale malt? So you wanted to get a really pale malt and then, I guess, introduce some caramel complexity. Was that the thinking?
I would say that's spot on, Jonny, and it's the same in our own Pilsner or Hellas that we're brewing at the brewery now, which is a very high quality base malt, and then kind of let the process, the yeast, the time, the wood, other stuff kind of do the magic. Yeah, that's definitely right.
So I missed with one of the comments there and put somebody replying. So Alan says it's as good as some of the Czech lagers he's had.
Wow, means a lot to us.
Karl, you said you were on a road trip and you went past the place where these malts were grown. So whereabouts in Sweden was that?
That's about 2 hours south of Stockholm. You probably know more exactly where that is, Henok. I just passed it in the car.
Yeah, so it turns out we have a small country house. Karl's absolutely right, and we've been passing this place, and I've heard about it. And there's apparently a maltster, and there aren't that many. Like we're not England, like where you have one in each corner, and so yeah, we figured we'd just reach out, and they were super helpful, excited, and we decided to give it a go. And I think we did a couple of tons of malts for this beer. So hopefully that was a decent order for them. But I think they were, again, like they really crafted it for us. On the one hand, we could have probably gone for something. Next time we collaborate with them, we're probably gonna ask them for a really dark roasted Pilsner malt or something, just to try stuff out. But for this one, we wanted to kind of get something that was kind of fairly lightly malted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the name of the place is Varbro Kvarn. It says here on the top of the neck label. So that's like, we really wanted to shout them out.
So this Balder barley was apparently kind of the premier barley at one point in time, and it has its origin. I think. Don't shoot me for it. In Gotland, which is like a place, an island outside of the coast of Sweden, and it's a part of Sweden, obviously. And they just like there was a nice kind of storytelling around it. And for us, we're trying to kind of dive deeper and deeper into each and every part of our ingredients lists, especially with the brewery, where we're not tied to sourcing ingredients from anybody. That was an exciting part of it.
Yes, I was going to say, it must be, when you are contract brewing, you come up with the recipes, and I guess you have a say on, which malts are going in, but not necessarily the sourcing of it and stuff like that. So not only are you taking control over the brewing, you're taking control over the absolute sourcing of that ingredient, which must be quite exciting for the first time.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Super. So we've had everybody's absolutely loving the beer. One comment that really caught my eye was somebody saying how well the Omnipollo branding works on like a classic German bottle. I also love that it's the classic like 500 ml sort of shaped bottle. But I'm blown away as well by how Germanic it looks while being entirely Omnipollo.
I mean, I wanted to stay true to their original format. So it's very much based on like what they do traditionally. Like they have a template that's very set. So I just wanted to like add the, our colors and sort of our, our attitude to what they're doing. We really respect what they're doing. And I think it's a lot of times like when we come in and do something with a very traditional brand, the outcome is even greater than if we do something together with a more experimental brand. Like that clash usually brings out the best of the out of the two of us. And I wanted to be respectful, towards the Kamba vibe, but also like bring our our sparkle to it.
Yeah, for me, it's a bit like sort of techno Viking at the Love Parade thing in Berlin.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Big fan.
It was really nice. When I was just getting the beers out of the fridge before I came on, and I was looking for the beers, and I couldn't find the lager because it had been put in the fridge, laid down, and all I could see was the camera cap.
Yeah,
which is super traditional. Come on, come into focus, camber cap.
I'll give it a go as well.
There we go. 30 seconds now. There we go. So yeah, I was like, well, that's a camber beer. That's not for tonight. And then I was like, oh no. Yeah, it's lovely to see that.
It is such a huge privilege, and I've really felt that every single year since we kicked this project off 10 years ago, or even 11 now, to kind of have new styles and new places to go. And in a way, the world's become more localized. And I think I'm looking at like going to the Czech Republic now. It's like stuff that over the past 10 years have just not, they haven't surfaced as kind of the most natural go-to place for brewing, maybe for drinking. And I think that it's an exciting new era in many ways for Omnipollo in that regard.
I love this comment. I've been chasing them ever since. It's great. You used to have to chase Omnipollo, and now I think it's a little bit more available despite Brexit removing the vending machine option. But it's great to be able to get hold of this stuff more regularly. Yeah, right. Well, I think it might be time for us to hit beer number 2 and to perhaps have a chat about the church itself and what the plans are, and maybe have a little look around it. I'm seriously excited to try the first beer from the church. Although I said let's move on and realised I've still got half a glass. So if somebody could talk for 2 seconds, and then I'll be with you.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously an exciting moment for us. I think, we've shared it with the Swedish market. England is close to our hearts. And I think that, we were seriously hesitant to sending our first beer out for something like this. Simply because you never know what you're going to end up with. And I think, again, like this is kind of a moment for the diary, like we want to know, like we want to share this moment with you guys. And it's something that we've not had as a part of our natural repertoire, partly because we have been a brewery that's been designed, or a brewery operator designed to export, and I think that if you're in LA, why would you want to bring a can of 4.9 Session IPA or Pale Ale across the pond? Whereas now it really makes sense, like choosing your own malts and your own yeast and your own space and your own water. It's going to taste different from any other Pale Ale in the world, just simply due to that. So this is an homage to kind of simplicity. Meanwhile, we're trying to stay true to the expressive nature of the Omnipollo brand, obviously. But I mean, 4.9 ABV beer isn't really it just hasn't been a part of our core offering in the same way that we're hoping for going forward. So yeah, pour this stuff and hope you enjoy.
Okay, let's do this.
Did you down it, Jonny?
I did down it. Well, beer merchants told me to down it, so I did.
Fair enough. They are our partner on this live stream.
Our partners, exactly.
Direct instruction.
There we go. Well, you got the haze right.
Yeah, that is fully.
Cool. So tell me, when was this packaged? Because it smells fresh.
I think this is about, I would like to say 3 weeks.
Right.
Packaging. Could that be right, Marie?
That could be right, or
even more, maybe.
Oh, really?
3.5 to 4 weeks. Yeah.
I mean, it's got what I call the bag of hop aroma, where you open a fresh bag of hops and you stick your face in. It smells of delicious green pellet and resin and all of that, and then underneath there's some juice sort of trying to squeeze out. That's probably going to come out as it warms. It smells,
amazing.
So
we really, this is essentially kind of the idea of the brewery is to try to build a place that would be as true to ingredient as possible. And there was just no other option for us than to go to Germany to build this place. And I think a clean wort, clean fermentation profile, selected hops, like these are all the yeast management that's good. That stuff is really kind of what we've been thinking about. This is our first attempt at kind of moving in that direction. And me hearing you say this smells like a hop bag is a kind of thumbs up, in the sense that at least there's a component of the ingredient shining through, and so that's great. Cheers to that.
So this was going to be your, like you said, potentially a dumping beer. So when you commission a brewery, generally the first one that is made doesn't always see the light of day. Why did you pick a recipe like this? So like a sort of American pale sort of Session IPA almost. It's got that much kind of big hop character to it.
Yeah. It's first of all, it's a fully automated system. I guess we didn't want to strain the system too much. It's everything from grain handling to brewing to dumping of grains is automated. So it just felt like let's play it relatively safe in that regard. But it was also a question of not saying let's just overwhelm every sensory aspect of it and try to get at least some parts of it, to shine through. With a 4.9% base, it just feels more fair to kind of to the process to do something like that as the first one, to see where to take it, rather than make a double IPA or a stout or something similar. And we also, it's around the brewery, there are a lot of good bars around Stockholm area. It felt like let's bring something out to market, super fresh, super vibrant, to put on draft. And I think this beer works really well on draft because of how it's designed, and so that's kind of the thinking that went into it.
Now, Henok, is it called boy because like it's a baby boy? It's your firstborn child from the church.
I mean, it's funny with I guess it's like with every beer name, you name it something, and then it's the name kind of
it fills in, like you come up with a name and then people can imagine why it's called that.
You kind of imagine it's in the eyes of the beholder. I don't know, Karl. Do you want to jump in partly? You're usually part of the naming.
The title of the title of this beer is like 100% you, Henok. But I think as with the I don't know, that like the very first idea of any beer that you come up with, and also with the designs that I do. I mean, it's all very intuitive. We basically just like, pick things from our sketchbooks and then like pick each other's minds and whatever comes out. And the cool thing about it, I mean, the 11 years that we've been Omnipollo, is that any idea just changes into new things, due to whoever drinks it, like over the years, etc., etc. I mean, we're still producing our very first beer. I mean, it's one of our most popular beers, and it's been around for 11 years. And I think the meaning and like the vibe of that beer has changed so much over the years due to whoever drinks it, whoever we talk to, where on the planet we bring it, etc., etc. And that is awesome. Where did we begin this? Boy, Henok. I think
we made 11.
It is inspired by the UK, right?
Is it Boy London as well? It looks a little bit like the Boy London sort of brand from the.
So I guess the long story would be I studied in England in 2003, 2004, 2005, and there was a nightclub called Nag Nag Nag. That was kind of the hottest place to be. We were queuing up for that place, and Boy George would be at that club almost every time I got in, which would be kind of 1 out of 10 times I'd go there. So this is a Boy George tribute.
Great stuff.
It's the first time I think we've expressed that, but I mean, it feels like to you guys it makes sense. In Sweden it's kind of like, we just named it Boy because it's sexy. Whatever it is.
Is Boy George not a thing in Sweden?
I mean, of course, but I think it just, like, to me at least, like that kind of period, like that was just like phase in my life that had a really big impression on me, and it just felt like, I don't know, like you'd usually be drinking a light lager at one of these places, probably a pretty crappy one, but it would have been fun if it was this, I think, or something similar.
It's amazing. So we've just talked about how Boy has all these meanings, and sort of meanings come back at you with a lot of your beer names that you maybe hadn't considered. Also, I mean, the flavor notes that are coming in the comments are just, there's so many different approaches on this. We've got people talking about mango and peaches, bag of hop smell, like I said, and then we've got people talking about green stalks. Like it's a powerfully fresh beer. It really is. Like a really lovely. Because sometimes it can be too green and it's associated with hopburn, but this is just wonderful and green. Like, so, like, it has an actual connection to the hops. Like, it feels like it's in pellet form, which I think is really nice because it's balanced by the sweetness of what's left in the sort of in the body, and whatever the yeast is sort of left behind or produced. It's huge for 4.9.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if it's vibrant and fresh and kind of vibrant, I think is really kind of what we're hoping for. And I think that on a 4.9% body, we went pretty heavy on the hops here for sure. But again, like, I think it speaks to the brew team and the process that you can really open this can and it just bursts out of the can. We haven't been that spoiled with that in Europe for many years, and I think that now over the past, say, 2 to 3 years, like, a lot of great brewers have come up that managed to do this. If we can be a part of kind of express these expressive beers in the hoppy game, we will be extremely happy. But this is a very humble first attempt in that direction. I think it's weedy. I like that. I think the first time we were in New York and had Heady Topper, Karl said it was super weedy, and that was like very early in our our journey. Weed is good.
When people have heady topper, particularly now with the way that beer has gone, when people have heady topper and focal banger, it sort of blows their socks off because it has that bag of hop aroma. It has loads of dank weed and almost cattiness and huge bitterness as well. Like, I think John Kimmich says it's 70 IBU, but you feel every one of those 70. Whereas we made a homebrew a couple of weeks ago that was 100 IBU in a red IPA, and it felt like half the bitterness of that. So it's sort of how it's presented and how the hops sort of present themselves in the beer. So this was the first sort of beer that you guys were putting out there. Who was there for the brew day? What was that first occasion like? Was it, I guess, nerve-wracking, but also very exciting? Did you bless the beer by smashing something against the fermenter or anything?
We've done a lot of hugging.
A lot of
hugging and everything. No.
It's pretty mega for us to do this church thing. It's also it's weird because we've had like this vacuum and space to work on this project kind of during this Corona year, and like I personally look forward to kind of inviting people into this space from near and far, both drinkers and also brewers, to kind of really share the moment. But I think no doubt in terms of the brew team and kind of where we are as a company, it just had to be done, and it's monumental for us to be able to kind of put our own beer through a system. We haven't even installed our own canning line yet. This is canned on a mobile canning line, a great company in Sweden that we've gotten help from. So that's happening in 3 weeks. So it's still going on. It's very much a kind of a process that we're all buzzing around.
And what about the yeast? So we've talked about a lot about hops and malt. Have you are you going to be propagating your own yeast and trying to develop like a house one for any beers, or are you going to be bringing in lots of different things for different styles?
At this point, it's like, we've been trialing yeasts, 3 different up to this point. We're heading into our 4th, and also generations of yeast. I think it's been really interesting to kind of see how they act in our different fermenters. The ones that you can see in the background there are different sizes and different shapes. We've tried to work with a broader fermenter to get as much esters as possible out of the beers that we brew. But yeah, it's very early days still. I think I've chosen my favorite out of the 3 we've used, but it's a constantly ongoing debate where I think the brew team are, I'm not sure everybody has the same opinion, but that's kind of where you get the best and most magical stuff out of.
Yeah. Do you think we could get a look around? Like, I think you were having some internet issues, so maybe we can't have a full tour, but could we look over the banister
upstairs, and then we'll go do the go through, and then if it cuts out, then
we'll cover the gaps. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So let's put you ladies full screen.
2 seconds. Just gonna flip the camera around.
Oh,
it's a strong start.
I wanted to show the beautiful window.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
All right. So,
wow.
Got Marie walking around.
So I guess you guys are above the brew house, and we're looking towards what would have been the altar. Is that where the bigger fermenters are?
Oh, sorry. So focused on filming here. Say that again.
I was just checking. So you guys are pointing at, is that the altar where there's those two slightly taller fermenters, and you're on top of the brew house right now.
Exactly. Yes. So if I tilt it down a little bit, you will actually see the brew house right there.
Great window there. Amazing.
So this right here, we will go down so we can see it closer. This is the mash and wort kettle, and then we got our lauter tun. So we got a 2-vessel brew house, a beautiful Aloysius, which is our pre-masher that are custom made for us. Do you see the swing here? So we can actually change and we can mash into that lauter tun as well.
I've never even heard of a pre-masher.
You never heard of a pre-masher?
No.
Oh, it's like the new thing.
Johnny, what rock have you been living under?
It's a new thing.
I've never heard of a pre-masher either, but that's no surprise.
So you get water coming through with the malt at the same time. So it's kind of like do a little pre-mash before it goes down to the actual mash kettle.
Right.
Which is pretty and you get a better yield doing that as well. You mix everything way better before it even comes down in the mash kettle. Yeah.
There you go. Everybody's pre-mashing.
Do you guys want to walk us?
Can we see the ceiling? Can I have a look at the ceiling?
Yeah.
I know I just want to look at the space. It just looks incredible. Wow. Is it? So is that a wooden chapel then? It's like a sort of medieval chapel or something?
Yeah, it's an old church. It's a Swedish missionary church. Yeah.
It's really beautiful, guys.
Yeah, thanks. And this, where we are sitting at this beautiful construction phase with this window, this is where the bar will be eventually. They are now building for the bar. Let's go downstairs.
I think you missed a bit there with the paint on the wall.
That's what we said. This is a diary moment.
Yeah.
In a few months, we're opening a tap room. It just, it doesn't make sense to do right now with all the, COVID stuff going on.
But, the street there.
Wow.
Are we still with you?
Nice weather.
Yeah.
Perfect. So.
Horizontal tanks.
Wow.
Woohoo! This is where all the crispy Pilsner is laying around. Right now.
Amazing.
Very nice. We got 7 tanks in different shapes and sizes, all from 40 hectoliters to 80 hectoliters. 40,
it looks like a pipe organ in a church, the way you've got them kind of going in a sort of concentric circle. It's very beautiful.
That's actually the pipe organ.
It was.
Oh, wow.
When we were setting this up before we started, and Henok said at one point, he was like, if you sat by the organ, you might not get very good signal, which has never been a sentence said on a brewery tour before.
But there's actually,
and to be honest,
one up there.
And to be honest with you, it took quite an effort to talk the guys into keeping the organ, because it's taking up space, but it's an amazing piece to keep in the church, I think.
Yeah, so the organ will still work.
Of course, yeah. Come over and play.
Damn.
So we need organ nights at the Church of Omnipollo.
That's happening.
Oh my days.
This is
so what are we looking at, guys? We're looking at the hop gun, right?
Yeah.
That's a hop gun.
It's a beast.
Just to give you guys an idea, like that thing usually fits around, I would say, a heck or something. So that's about 100 liters. This is 20 heck. So we've added in some insane amounts of coconut and stuff in there with quite some ease.
I guess you need that for pastry style brewing.
I guess it just makes life easier. Like we've been brewing we've been contract brewing for 10 years, and I just don't like. It's just nice not having a sigh from the brew team when we say we're gonna add, say, 400 kilos of coconut or whatever.
Like, you're sick of those emails and conversations. Like,
yeah,
no, we're having
okay, Pilsner, pastry stout, whatever it is, like kind of same thing. The ice cream machine is located in our beer garden in downtown. That's just an answer to the comment.
No ice cream in church. Disrespectful.
That's true. We're gonna finish off with going up here, and then
Alrighty.
we'll be back sitting down. So basically, church window, slowly move around. There's an organ somewhere, and the altar.
Already so flippant about having an organ in a brewery. There's an organ somewhere.
It's the most beautiful brew house I've ever seen. Wow, look at that.
Turn the lights on.
Hey!
Oh, yeah.
It's as clean on the inside as on the outside.
Very, very clean. Not.
Oh, bit of shade being thrown at the cleanliness.
But that's the size of it. It's very compact, as previously said.
But it's better use of space than a lot of pews, I'd say. That is absolutely amazing. We've had a question from Jasper saying, "But no wood. Is there any wood in the brewery?"
So we're in the process of ordering 2 oak fooders for the Pilsner. That's the only wood that will be in that building, and it's the first thing you'll see when you come in through the main entrance. But we do have a packaging warehouse and a barrel room that's about twice or 3 times even the size of the church, where we'll have a huge, or we're already building a big barrel aging facility. So it's kind of divided up into 2 spaces.
Right. Because when we did our last live show about a year ago, you had a couple of barrels somewhere, but you've massively upgraded that project to move to elsewhere, I guess.
I'm afraid that barrel room became boring stuff that needs to feed every single piece of equipment in the building, like heat, electricity, light. But yeah, we've extended it, so we'll have about 100 to 200 barrels aging away in a facility not too far away from the church.
Right. Amazing.
That's the whirlpool that you're seeing right now on the top left corner. So it's yeah.
So nothing is. I mean, that's a big old whirlpool as well.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Has this got pretty big doors for a church? I'm confused how you got everything in. Did you take a wing off? Or
Marie's Wi-Fi is probably not as good as ours. We took that entire party out.
Wow.
And brought in the tags.
Amazing.
Is that the original door?
Yeah, that's the original door, but we took it out and put it back in again.
It's got a very 80s Church of England vibe to it.
It is very much 80s church, which we think is a fun thing.
Okay, it's not just a brewery tour at this point.
No,
hey.
It's the suburban tour.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go upstairs again.
Amazing. Right, let's bring everybody back in. I see Carl's found a window to shed a little more light on him.
Yeah, it's getting dark here. I mean, it's not midsummer yet.
Oh, of course, yeah. You'll be coming towards. So that'll be late June, right? You have the midnight sun.
Yeah, it's gonna be way brighter soon.
Excuse me.
Especially Brad, it's all the hot pellets.
It is.
Shall we move on to beer number 3?
Yes. So what are we on? Gin? Could that be right? Yeah.
We're on gin in a bottle. So it wouldn't be a beer tasting without a beer that was a pun for a name. So this is this a collaboration or is it just you guys?
It's just us. So I think I want to say 6 years ago, we went to Pennsylvania or outside of Philadelphia to a town called Ardmore to brew with Tired Hands Brewing Company, and the head brewer there, head brewer co-owner Gene, and me and Marie and Carl actually went down there to brew a Milkshake Ipa. And little did we know that would kind of become a style in itself. Yeah, I mean, it was like kind of a fun project between us and them, and yeah, it just kind of took on a life of its own. And for many years, we've been joking about making a tribute beer to Gene with this name. So I would say this is actually one of the few pun names that we have in our portfolio. But
yeah, we try to stay away from pun names.
Nonetheless, it's here. It's here.
Just massive fans of Christina Aguilera as well, right? So
yeah.
Who is it?
Okay, we have. Let's see if we have an opener here. So we can get this thing cracked up. No, but so this is a Milkshake Ipa that we brewed in Gothenburg. So this is the 3rd location. So first beer was brewed in Germany at Kamba. Second beer was brewed at the Church, which you just got a quick tour of. And this beer is brewed in Gothenburg at our good friends brewery called Dugges. We brewed a lot of imperial stouts there. We brew our Fata Morgana beer there, and we decided to brew this one there. And it's a milkshake, kind of double, almost triple, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 9 ABV beer, so take it easy with this one.
Alrighty. So am I right? It's still vegan.
This one's vegan for the simple reason that one of the brewers at Dugges is vegan. So out of respect, we didn't put any lactose into this. I think honestly, the vanilla kind of does the job with this style. And looking at how we will be brewing these beers at our church, it's going to be interesting to trial back and forth to kind of see where we'll dial it in. So we'll bring back our own milkshake series of beers at the church, and yeah, it's. I think it's the lactose in these beers is overrated. I think the vanilla really does kind of the main part of the job.
But I guess is vanilla a much more expensive way of bringing that full-bodied kind of sweetness?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it does also have a high residual sweetness, so it's a kind of a combination of both. But yeah, in this case, it was kind of like, okay, we can't use lactose. Let's figure it out. And I really think the vanilla is it does most of the job, but we have also kept some residual sweetness in there to kind of give it this sweeter touch.
So from a flavor point of view, so Milkshake IPAs are probably one of the most, I guess, controversial styles in that some people think that there shouldn't really be sweetness to an IPA, or that it might clash with the bitterness. Is there an approach that you try to take to minimize that, or do you just not buy that sort of idea?
I think it's extremely hard I think it's a super hard style just overall. And I don't even know if I like it anymore, to be honest. And I think that's, I think it's a good starting point with anything. Like, I didn't like Belgian style blonde ales when we released our first beer, which happened to be a Belgian style blonde ale. Like, I think we're going to have a retake on this style and kind of see whether it has a place or not over the next coming year. At least for us, this is our own personal journey, I think. And we're trying like different ABVs, different levels of sweetness, different fruits. Hops and fruit generally, I think, are very hard to combine. This guy sitting beside me here, I think, is one of the few people in the world that actually does that exact thing very well. Another image. But it's a super hard thing, you know. Sorry, what were you saying, Sam?
Why is he ghosting?
I don't know. It's like so he does a mango IPA. An incredible mango IPA, and I think overall it's such a hard, complicated thing, and honestly speaking, it's a challenge I look forward to kind of diving back into with the church to really see if it does merit a place in kind of the style map. So that's going to be interesting.
I've had some great fruited brewski beers as well. So I was wondering, Marcus, have you got any? Do you sort of keep it all like whirlpool or colder, the hop additions, or do you try to embrace the pithy, like bitter skin kind of thing that it can add? What's the approach that means yours are so good?
I didn't catch up on everything. Sorry, it's been a long day. We've been like drinking beers all day.
How do you brew your incredible mango IPA? Spill the beans.
We'll take notes.
No, it's for first of all, I'm just trying to like find new ways, find new paths, find reach my visions, and with mango I learned how to what do you say, leach the mango, in a way. So
he's tamed the mango essentially.
He's not been playing with the hops. He's been fixing mango.
No, I'm working mainly with it when I work with fruit. It's like I'm trying to entangle the fruit with the hops, So it's like the fruit is not overwhelming. It's more like it's actually bringing the hops more to life, in my opinion, than some people don't. They think I suck, so it's like. But I think it's quite. If you can take tropical fruits and like entangle them into a hop, and then I think it's a quite beautiful collaboration. In a way.
I think it's super interesting because I was out at the brewery yesterday and I had a kind of ramped up version of Marcus Mango Fever, which is kind of the staple fruited mango beer at the brewery. And I think, and you said something that was super interesting, which was, okay, I started using fruit because I had bad hops. And I thought it was such a, it's a beautiful way to put it, because it's like, that's usually how magic happens. It's like, you try to kind of, like, necessity is the mother of invention. It's like you bring in an element because you need to, and then you kind of figure it out. And today he has access to any hop he wants, but he can like really kind of dial in the perfect level of dry hop, the perfect level of mango, the perfect time to add the mango, and so on and so forth. Kind of get it balanced. And as you said, less pithy, because in my book, the pithiness and kind of the harshness from the hops don't really play that well with fruit. But that's a personal preference. And I think that really dialing in where that sweet spot is going to be important for us. And I think you've really managed to do it very well.
I just want to flag this comment from Ben from Filmbusters. So I'm pretty certain that the aroma on this reminds me of the toys you get in Happy Meals at McDonald's, which I think it's having a sweet milkshake, but also having a toy. So now you've said toy, that's what it's reminding me of. But
I remember that toys in Happy Meals having smells, Johnny. It's just plastic.
Well, I don't know.
Why did you say that, man? Now I can't think of anything else than plastic toys. Like, this is
they're not selling. They're not doing plastic toys anymore. McDonald's. They're all these days.
What a world! I'm not trying to imply your beer smells of plastic. I'm trying to say vanilla plus toys makes me think of McDonald's. But not now the toy police have got involved.
I mean, any childhood memory we can evoke, like we'll take that. Like that's good stuff. Like,
is that where some designs come from? The nostalgia element?
yeah, for sure. We just did but like a year and a half ago, we did a non-alcoholic series for IKEA, which was based on our childhood memories of kind of growing up in Sweden and like kind of our favorite beverages going into it. It's usually where a large part of the fun comes from, is like your childhood. Yeah.
I mean, it's been a huge thing in craft beer. Like New England IPA, I think, was also built on this this kind of notion of nostalgia, because it is, you know, when we talk about some of the flavor profiles we get, it's super it's all related to sweets we ate as kids. You know, Haribo Tangfastics for like sour IPAs and wine gums and fruit pastels, and increasingly the hops we're getting now smell just of straight up fruit pastels. I can't remember the numbers, but it was a new hop, HBC something that I was trying at Burning Sky recently, and it just smelled like green fruit pastels, and definitely seems it's a great way of bringing new people in, I think, to go, here's an aroma you know, and we're going to play around with it.
I quite like the Kinder Egg one here.
You mentioned IKEA there. So somebody mentioned earlier, so the UK's had a huge, I guess, an upheaval with the idea of Cloudwater going to supermarkets. But, I mean, North have been in supermarkets for a long time, Wildcard, lots of great breweries. You guys worked with IKEA. What's it like to go to a very big company and sort of work with them on something that's, you know, very creative and has also like production issues and, well, not issues, limits?
I feel like I'm talking too much. Karl, do you want to jump in terms of the artwork? Like how free did you feel, and like how did we set it up?
I think the way like the whole Omnipollo project is set up is that me and Henok and like our crew dream stuff up, and then we try to make it happen. And every now and then we sort of we get requests, or we get people contacting us and want to do things together. And this time, we're going to contact with IKEA. So how would we like to work with IKEA? Basically, I mean, it's like the most iconic Swedish brand. Like, does it make sense? Would it be terrible to do it, or would it be like the greatest thing ever to do it? So we just we spent a lot of time thinking about it, like back and forth. Like how do we go about this thing? I think it's we wanted to do it in a way that felt good for us, not think too much about like the strategy or like the like the commercial aspect of it or anything like that. Like, I mean, we would never do it unless it felt like the right sort of cultural thing for us to do. We would never do a thing like that for like the money or whatever. But we also felt like it was something. There's something very special about being two Swedish brands. Almost we share almost nothing, right? Except that we're from Sweden, and then we come up with some weird shit like this. That's how we went about it.
And it's such a wonderful and weird collaboration, but I've enjoyed lots of collaborations. Like Northern Monk teaming up with Aunt Bessie's, which is a frozen food producer of Yorkshire puddings and roast potatoes and stuff like that. I really enjoy, just like you said, when you team up with something that's completely different, like you guys were, it's very traditional brewing. Sometimes you come up with something exceptional. And I wouldn't claim that the Aunt Bessie's gravy beer was great, but it was certainly pushing some boundaries, making some more room for some more experimentations. Maybe I think a great way that Omnipollo could go with IKEA is flat pack IKEA stuff and beers that suit it. So the most complicated flat packs and the strongest Omnipollo beers. And I think there's a craft beer channel video in there.
Yeah.
Speaking of milkshakes, I mean, when Henok met Gene the first time, there was no such thing as a milkshake IPA, right? I mean, it happened when Marie and Henok and Gene, and we met up and we talked about this thing. We went from Sweden to Ardmore to brew this beer. So it was a conceptual beer, right? I mean, it was a concept. It was something made up right there and right then, and then it's evolved into something. And I mean, that's the beauty about this scene, I think. I mean, there's so many new things happening all the time, like what Marcus is doing as well. I mean, he comes up with something, or Henok comes up with something, and then, give it a few months, and then it's like a style or a concept or something that people can relate to. And I think it's amazing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed some milkshake IPAs, but I think you're right. It's a really hard balance to strike, and I think a lot of the time the hops can be really astringent, but in this, I think it's really nice. Lots of people are talking about marshmallow. It sort of reminds them of that, and flumps, which is, I don't know whether you guys have come across it, but it's a long marshmallow that was, I think, with like rose water or something in it, but it's got that kind of vibe, and I think it's quite nicely done. I'm really enjoying it. If you guys want to make this beer that I've just brought up in the comments, I don't think anybody's done a tea and biscuit ale yet. I'd be well up for that.
I see the tea and biscuit. I mean, yeah, that's a challenge. If anything, we have one of our brewers drinks a lot of matcha. We've been working on.
Oh yeah,
bringing something out in that vein.
I'm thinking a bit of tea, a bit of classic Yorkshire tea, the biscuits, bit of decoction, just a dry hopper lager with tea, and that's why I am not a brewer. Cool, guys. Oh, sorry, Brad, go.
No, I was just going to say, I think I love IKEA. It's one of my favorite places. I just love IKEA. And I love a lot of the collaborations they do with like Teenage Engineering, like another really cool Swedish brand. I got some of the stuff that they did there, and like all kinds of, they just celebrate design, which I love design. I love the fact that someone just referenced the dime bar cake that you can get.
Yeah.
That is also iconically IKEA and Swedish for me. Such an amazing biscuity, beautiful caramel kind of flavor. It's wonderful stuff.
Is dime bar big in Sweden?
Yeah.
I mean, like Swedish candy.
I can imagine Teenage Engineering went about their collaboration with IKEA about the same way that we did. They wanted to do something that was like, that was like their thing, and then get the IKEA reach. So what do you want to do? You don't want to do some sort of bland, whatever type stuff, right? You want to do something that's like completely you, and sort of surf the IKEA wave.
Yeah.
It gets your kind of mission statement out to the world.
I mean, I think honestly, like Omnipollo, like when me and Karl met for the first time in 2010, it was like the idea of broad reach was not like, it wasn't associated with scale. It was just the idea of like bringing craft beer into different contexts, And I think that like the IKEA thing is really, we couldn't have gone to IKEA at that point and just said, you want to, release a blonde ale, but it's a lot of freedom, and it's been a lot of fun to kind of get that shelf space and like have Swedish meatballs, some dime bars, and a craft beer with blueberry, just like pop up on the shelf. It's just refreshing. We have a couple of other projects they're also kind of like iconically like Swedish brands coming up. Like we have Aquavit, like very much kind of the I would say the most famous like Aquavit for midsummer table, Christmas table kind of stuff that's in Sweden. We're brewing a non-alcoholic beer with them that you can either choose to drink as a non-alcoholic beer or add the Aquavit into the beer and kind of get a stronger
out
of it. And it's just a fun kind of different way to get more, different. It's just a nice platform, I love personally, and I think the rest of the Omnipollo crew are very much engaged in kind of trying to get beer in the hands of people that wouldn't have thought that was an interesting thing to kind of dive into. So it kind of fits well.
Yeah, and use it as a medium to make statements, I think. I mean, I think of the concoctions that we put out as more than just beer. I mean, it's sometimes it's statements, sometimes it's borderline art, I hope, and sometimes it's just like a nice cold, refreshing beer. Let's keep people on their toes, I think.
It was the Beavertown Extravaganza, I think. It would have been 2017, the first one. And Henok, you were speaking, and you referred to some of the beers that you made as sort of trying to be like pop art, like taking everyday things and elevating them to art, which I thought was a really interesting way of looking at beer, because we claim that, the art is in the process, but actually the final product should be occasionally seen as art. And it's weird because we always have this debate, is brewing an art or a science? But when it comes to the actual drink of it, most people are like, oh, you're being ridiculous if you say, that's art in a glass or something. And I remember listening to you talking and being like, yeah, that is ridiculous. And we should see beer as art in some ways when it's making a statement, not just, being a cold and refreshing drink.
I agree.
You said it first time, so yeah, I hope so.
I'll always remember we saw you guys out in Santa Rosa in California many years ago at Rate Beer Best Festival, and you had the coolest Omnipollo bomber jackets on, like same bomber jacket, amazing. Have you still got those? Can we buy those?
We only made I think 5. I mean, Omnipollo was only 5 people back then. Wow. I made them for I think I made them for that festival in Copenhagen, the Mikkeller Beer Fest. Probably that same year. I mean, we still got the jackets, but I don't know. I just want to make something that was like a bit over the top and like very beer scene-y at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, people were kind of making fun of us for wearing those jackets and like hating us for wearing the coolest jackets on earth.
Yeah, man, they're the coolest jackets on earth.
We loved you for wearing those jackets. I remember.
I mean,
I'll make one for you, Marcus.
We would bring, we should definitely bring those back again. I mean, it's like kind of those we made those. I think it's like the first time we were invited or something. Like it was kind of this.
The whole Copenhagen freeze, we were like, fucking hell.
Yeah, like putting a jacket on the crew and going to the festival. But the funny thing is we brought them along for every single festival for the next coming, I would say 2 years. And we would hang them in our stall somewhere. And every single time it would be gone, at some point. You go to the bathroom and it'd be gone. And you'd see somebody walking around with that jacket in the festival, making them work casually.
Not the perfect crime.
And it would have, I think it had our initials on it. So it was like, no, and they'd be like, it's my jacket.
They were like extremely
And they were basically like sort of high school American jock kind of like super cool 80s b-boy. They were just awesome jackets, man. I always really wanted one of those. Well, obviously,
it makes me very happy to hear this.
We're all jocks. That's the thing, especially Maria and Samantha. Hey, guys.
Right. I think it's time for beer number, what are we on? 7? No. Okay, 4. Awesome.
You guys went heavy. Okay, so this is a 9 ABV. I don't know what the hell we're going into now. So we're going into 10 ABV. So we're going up anyway.
Double figures.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We've got, I want to get Tef nutted.
Hi.
There we go. So tell me about this beer. So this is a collaboration with another sort of seminal West Coast-ish American brewery.
Okay, I would say this is nowhere else would we send this beer then to England for a beer tasting? Like, this is challenging stuff about this. No, but honestly, like, I think weirdly enough, like, this really doesn't work on paper, but we'll see the comments that pop up. We've done, I think, about 20 in this series. We're getting to a point where we're freaking out a little bit extra, and this is one of those options. I'm just going to read off of it, like, although everybody has this: pistachio, milk, toffee, iced coffee, pineapple, triple fruited imperial gose. So this is, yeah. I don't think I need to explain more. So let's just try it.
Wow.
Can you
with like emojis in between every word?
Can you clear something up for me with the Omnipollo names? When you do those huge lists, are they referring to ingredients or the flavors you expect people to get out of it?
That's a really good question, Jonny. And I think that sometimes it's kind of like we approach it as kind of more of a concept, like Karl explained earlier. Like, it doesn't necessarily contain every single ingredient that's listed in the name. I mean, we do list our ingredients on the can just generally, but sometimes it's more an idea of something. Like, we can evoke the sensation of a pancake by having maple in it, for example, instead of, I mean, we don't add pancakes to the beer. But
we have added pancakes to beer, though.
We have added pancakes to beer.
We don't add pancakes to beer. We
don't, except that time.
We feel that it doesn't add that much, no pun intended. But so we've just decided to go with maple. But I think one thing that's important to mention, though, is that this is a collaboration with a Richmond-based brewery called The Vale. Matt and the team there are very, very good friends. They've been to Sweden to brew with us. We've been to the US to brew with them. And like with many of our collaborative beers, the dream is always for them to become a series, I think. Like, that's kind of how we've approached most of our collaborations. And that's also part of it. Like, on the one hand, we're a brewery that makes a lot of collaborations, but we don't see it that way. Like, we really kind of approach kind of few breweries to make collaborations because we want to go deep into our collaboration. So we just made a beer with Marcus here that, you know, it might be great, it might not be, but we kind of see it as a beginning of something rather than kind of the end. And this is definitely a beer we brewed many years ago that have evolved into this series, where this is one of the more freakier offerings. I gotta try it, though. I haven't tried it since canning, so before I speak more about it, I gotta try it.
Well, Karl, can you tell us a little bit about the label? Because I feel like I recognize that. Wasn't the Yellow Belly Sunday had a cracked mirror or something, didn't it? Is this a theme you use?
That's true. Because when we put out Yellow Belly, I mean, the message, controversial as it is, I mean, the point of that design was basically to discuss the issue with the people, right? And then we made the Sunday version of Yellow Belly. I wanted to make something that was more, making you think about yourself rather than anyone else. So I made a mirror and then I cracked it, to make it look more interesting. Funny you brought that up because I haven't thought about that, actually. That's true. That's another cracked mirror. Another 7 years of bad luck. There we go. So with our collaborations that we've done with Vale, with these guys, the names are always, or have been so far, names of ancient Egyptian deities. Like the first one was Amun, and then we made Amun-Ra, and then Tefnut, and we're bringing out a new. We're actually releasing the first seltzer collaboration with them now, called Shu. And Tefnut, the goddess Tefnut's brother is Shu, so they are kind of they're connected in a sense. So they're all related to Egyptian deities. And I mean, I don't know. It always makes it kind of. It just sounds so bland when you speak about what the graphics are about. It's better to just like look at it and I mean, you can just like Wikipedia that stuff.
Well, I'd love to see. You know, we always say let's hear the tasting notes in the comments. Let's hear what you think of the artwork as well, because that's an integral part. I love to hear people's interpretations. But
it's actually funny because like we do a lot of collaborations, right? And I'd say 99% of the time we want to be in charge of doing the artwork, or at least like be art directing the artwork. And if it's going to be a series, I mean, like the Veil guys are amazing. We know whatever they produce is going to be amazing. They put a lot of effort into every single detail of their beers, whatever they put out. And I wanted to make something like a nice sort of template, something that you could build from, something that you can play around with, change the colors, change the, look of the arm, the mirror, the drips, like whatever. So the challenge for me when I make something like this is that I want to make something that can evolve, but also be recognizable, right? So like an arm with a hand holding a cracked, weird mirror that is dripping. It's a pretty good start.
It's lime green as well, so that helps.
This time the color is actually sort of matching the ingredients of the flavor of the beer. I mean, a lot of times, I honestly do not think a lot about like the look of the beer and the taste of the beer. It's I spend way more time thinking about like the dreams, like the ideas behind the beer, or like the attitude of the beer.
It's like a strange fever dream of something. I don't know. Like you're saying, it's like a kind of Egyptian deity, kind of like a smashed idol kind of thing, like the falling of gods and all kinds of strange things, and then a psychedelic melting arm. It's very you, Karl.
You're making me cry. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Hello.
I love it, man. It's so good.
Yeah, spot on.
We're getting lots of people reference mint.
I mean, just to give kind of a quick rundown of what's in this beer, which again, I think it's kind of like Karl explaining the artwork is, sometimes you just want to have people smell it and taste it and tell you what they think rather than giving them the entire ingredients list. But there are obviously pistachios in this and pineapple. These are kind of the two main components. And honestly speaking, like I think when we started this collaboration out, like one of the kind of radical things about this series was we're going to make like an 11% triple fruited series of beers. And at that time when we did it, it felt like that was kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit. We've since decided to dial it down just a little bit, like to 10%, which is we feel this modest, good balanced level. But I think all that stuff together really makes for something that's in between, like sipper in one regard, but also like hoping to kind of add the fruited element to make it more, enjoyable to drink in at least, more than a very, very small glass. But mint, I wonder where that would come from.
When I've stopped drinking it for a while and sniff it, I get like mint choc chip ice cream.
Yeah, there is actually clear. I think that's more of a yeast element, to be honest. The mint, but that's my interpretation of what we're smelling.
You'll have to excuse me. I just poured a bit of beer over myself, so I kept checking the aroma and eventually just sloshed it. Give me 2 seconds, and I will be back with a towel.
He sounds exactly like that when he does his videos of like brewing and stuff. Like he has such a good voice, Jonny. He's like, "I'll be back with the towel," and then he like walks off. It's almost like it's pre-recorded. This is live, everybody.
It is live. It is live. Yeah, he's what you call a professional, whereas I'm more of an amateur. But
are you guys you always sit together in one couch. Are you kind of doing the Corona distancing thing?
We're Corona buddies. We've like buddied up. We're a fighting duo. So we've got each other's back. It's business, you know. We're doing our business, so we're allowed to like be together and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously,
I was going to say we did spend a good nearly 9 months apart, which was I wouldn't say hard, but weird.
We could have had a baby together in that time, Johnny. Somehow,
Yeah.
Well, no, we couldn't. Right? There's some biological issues with that. We could have adopted.
Before we move on, I have a question for you guys. What are you guys brewing these days?
Ooh.
So today, this very day, we brewed a mountain session IPA. So I don't know if you guys have come across Mountain. We basically brewed it because we wanted to work out what it was, and sometimes that's the best way of doing it. But it's supposed to be, it's the hybrid of East and West Coast IPA brewing. So a much less thick water profile, much less calcium, slightly drier yeast, bigger Kettle addition. So it's got some juicy esters, but much lighter body, but still sort of hazy and juicy. Apparently Odell's brewery invented it. They're trying to have their sort of New England moment, I think. But
nice.
Yeah, we brewed that today. So
this is I'm going to flash this up for a second, or you can't really even see it. But I'm not putting the full name up. But this is a little kind of thing from today. We've been building something and making something, and
we needed a solution so we could go to multiple breweries for collaborations. So we've got a mobile brewery now.
Nice. On wheels. That's amazing.
On wheels. Built by me and Brad. So I don't know how long it'll be on wheels. But
I'm an advanced DIYer, Johnny. Have some faith, man.
You're beyond IKEA level DIY.
Dude, I can flat pack the shit out of anything.
Send us some of that East meets West, because I think a lot of brewers are occupied with this idea at this moment in time, and part of the reason is that New England style proper can be kind of hard to drink. Like the drinkability kind of gets reduced by over fruitiness, and you know, as with these beers or whatever, like they kind of need to be counterbalanced with something. Especially if you're going to drink like a big glass of it. And I think, you know, whether it's the hops or the dryness or the water profile or whatever it is, like kind of finding that balance of like wanting to take another sip but still having a super fruit forward profile is really a big interesting topic going forward.
Yeah, I think I've used this metaphor so many times, so apologies to people, but I see like the way that experimentation goes in beer, it's like a guitar string. So we strum it and we go to all the extremes and sort of slowly settle in the middle. So we had the arms race of bitterness with like McKellar 1000 IBU, and then we went the other way with like Verdant released the no IBU IPA, and we're trying to find, and we'll end up around like Little Hazy by Sierra Nevada, like 40 IBU, crisp, but still there's that juicy ester thing kind of poke through. So yeah, I mean, I don't think our beer will be the solution to this, Henok, but we'll send you a bottle. That's not a problem. You can let us know.
Figure it out. Then send us some. We're always
yeah, well, I mean, we'd love to approach you to do a collaboration on our next homebrew if you're up for it.
I mean, we have a brewery now, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be.
Well, let's do a commercial one. We don't need to wheel our brewery to Sweden, maybe.
Exactly. You can wheel it over. And
we'll just jump on a ferry.
Yeah.
Stick it on the top of the car, Johnny. That'll be all right.
Yeah, just with the vessels poking out the top. It'll be absolutely fine. Guys, we've neglected the comments for a bit, so I'm just going to jump in and see if you guys have any questions. Somebody was asking about Bianca, the difference between Bianca and Tefnut in concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously come from this. I mean, Bianca is an Omnipollo beer. Tefnut's a collaboration with The Veil. The Veil has a series of incredible. I see that Sam and Marie are cheating with our next like number 2 beer from the church.
It's not
My
Hey,
God,
that's not cool.
I'm not supposed to
That's
do
the
that.
can.
Let's have a look at
shame.
the can, though.
Like
Wait.
a mirror, Carl. Explain yourself.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
don't know. Now I'm embarrassed about the mirrors.
I,
exactly.
I don't think there's too many mirrors, Carl. I don't want to send you inside your own head there.
They think we're moving too. You guys think we're moving too slow. Like, like, but it's
I'm sipping conks at the same time. I'm going the other direction.
No, but I think just to answer that question briefly, I think Tefnit's heavily inspired by Bianca, but it's also heavily inspired by the Vale's fruited sour beers. So it's just been it's been a blend of both. Like when two breweries collaborate, there's obviously we come from two different directions, and this is kind of where we met, which was like, okay, the Vale has an incredible way of working with fruit, and they just go very heavily in that direction, and we just said, let's max this thing out and kind of use a Bianca meets their sour beer base and work off of that. So it is to some extent, very similar, but I would say the ABV really sets them apart the most in terms of pure metrics. We've started they live a kind of parallel. I think you drink them at different occasions in a way. I drink this more as a stout when they're berry forward, and when they're with the lighter fruits. This is one of the few examples we've made with the lighter fruits. I think it just gives another. I'm trying to figure out kind of when the drinking occasion for them would be.
Do you do that a lot when you're designing recipes? Going when we need to make a beer for this occasion, or you come up with a concept and go, I can't think of an occasion for that, so maybe it needs a tweak.
We're always off season. That's like Omnipollo's signum. Like we release stouts in the summer, and crisp pilsners in the winter, and it's just never been our strong suit. But as a drinker, I do think about that stuff. So it's good in one way, because if you release a stout in the summer, it's probably going to be great by the winter, but you need to sit on them for a while, unless you really like to drink stout in the summer, which when we drink this stuff, we'll be doing, but it'll be good. It's kind of, yeah.
It's I'm currently, again, apologies for saying this all the time, but I'm currently writing a book all about seasonality in both brewing and drinking. And one of the main points that I have to make throughout the book is that they're now entirely different things. It used to be that you would brew with the stuff that was seasonal and you'd drink it within 3 or 4 weeks. And so you'd be brewing and drinking according to the style. But now, the exception to that was because we didn't brew during summer. So you'd brew Mets and wait, obviously, until autumn came around. But those are two very different things now. So you can brew something that you don't intend to drink for 9 months, or you can brew something and just store it and wait. And I think, we've taken all the extremes, gone to all the extremes. And just sort of lost seasonality a little bit, and maybe as drinkers we can bring it back, even if the brewers can brew all year round and do whatever they want.
Interesting. When's the book coming out?
September 30th. Thanks for asking.
Wow, that's cool. I teed
it
it up for a plug there.
You've done this before, yeah. That is if I finish it, though. It's having some delays.
Jonny, which of these Omnipollo beers would you drink on September 30th to be seasonal?
Great.
I'm going to be down in the plucking feathers. Let's be honest.
That's a good one.
But I talk a lot about lager in the book. Both because summer is such an important drinking time, but also because there's so many varieties of lager. Like, people see lager as a style, and it's very much not. There's ale. There's lager, and within the lager family, there's just a million different things you can do with it. So there's, sections on Baltic Porter, on Helles, on Pilsner, on Italian Pilsner I write a lot about in a chapter all about pizza. So International Pizza Day, I've given a chapter to that, and we talk a lot about Italian Pilsner, because the Italians love to drink Pilsner with pizza rather than drink wine with it, because you want to wash it down, and obviously washing down loads of pizza with wine is a dangerous game. So, there's a lot of lager in there and a lot of bitter and porter. Sorry, what's that?
We actually built a bar around that idea, pizza and beer, all together.
You guys did because you do pizza at Omnipollo's hat, right?
Omnipollo's hat is it's all about pizza and beer. Yeah.
What's the best-selling pizza topping?
It's like a chunky chorizo, like hands down.
Yeah.
And then it's like a fior di latte mozzarella, so it's like a cow milk mozzarella. And then pimiento de padron. That's for all the years that I've frequented and worked there, by far. That and like a large pilsner.
Yes.
I can't think of anything better. I mean, just the two words, chunky chorizo, but then also pilsner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the fortune of having a lot of brewers pass through, and it's definitely exactly as Sam says. Like, I would go for those two options, but there's also one other, and that's Gruyere, like cheese bacon pizza with
It's got like a smoked bacon.
Yeah, like smoked bacon on it. That's been an incredible hit with the brewer team.
But then we have the world's best vegan pizza as well. I mean, I think our approach to pizza is trying not to be Italian. I mean, we don't want to insult anyone, so we're trying to stay away from like the real, like true school, like Italian style pizzas. I mean, we're obviously referencing them because we're making, a round shaped bread type, thing that you can eat. And we use Italian cheeses, but we don't claim to make like old school, like proper pizzas. We make something else.
I know in Norway that like frozen.
Don't
pizza.
think about Norwegian pizza. That's
Is it
on the discussion. No Norwegian pizza.
This is a hot topic. Yeah. They put like pickled cucumber on the very wrong thing. No, but I mean, yeah, it's too close to home in a way.
I loved it. I mean, we've been lucky enough to go to the Arctic Circle twice on beer adventures, and we were drinking aquavit in Viking longships, like real, like amazing stuff, and then partying with like after party stuff with frozen pizzas with gooseneck or something like weird on. I can't.
Yeah, it was. God, was it gooseneck?
Maybe gooseneck or gizzards or something crazy.
I mean, whatever it was, I was drunk and it was delicious.
But it's like pizza. Is it like it's a big sort of Scandinavian thing, like in general?
I think it's very different. I mean, Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Denmark is completely different pizza cultures.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I was not comparing your pizza to frozen pizza, by the way. I
can't believe you've put your foot in it with pizza. This is.
I mean, Jonny can clarify that. To me, pizza is life. I mean, I could eat pizza every single day and die a happy man. I love pizza so much. I'm just genuinely interested in your pizza culture.
We've got a lot of views coming in.
Come over and have our pizza at the bar. But I mean, for sure, like Sweden there's a pizzeria on every single corner, which is probably the case everywhere. Italian food is everywhere in many regards. But I think I would be surprised if Sweden wasn't like one of the most like highly concentrated pizza shop outlets in the world. Like it's insane. Like there's pizza everywhere.
Yeah, but it's also very
kebab pizza.
Yeah.
Kebab pizza. Ooh.
Yeah.
Guys.
So it's very very much influenced. It's very much influenced from Turkey, Serbia, other countries. That's what I'm saying. I mean, of course we respect the Italian pizza thing, but it's just, you know, we're not claiming to do anything Italian at all, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, like some people would argue that Turkish pizza is older than Italian pizza, potentially. That kind of Middle Eastern.
The Greeks were doing pizza. They were cooking pizza on their shields during the wars.
That makes no sense, man.
Johnny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where's this going? It's what Marcus is asking me. Just to kind of close the pizza chapter of this phone call. Like, there's an urban Swedish legend, so I thought it was, that says that there's a pizza which is a baked-in Happy Meal. So there's like a burger and fries inside the pizza kind of thing, like a calzone, and it actually exists up north. So
up north.
Bring that with you. So nothing, you know, we can do all, like, not only Norway can do wrong, also Sweden.
Okay, so let's talk about fields more.
Sam, what have you got to say?
I was just saying this is a very hostile environment for celiacs. It's like from beer to pizza.
If you're Norwegian or celiac, we apologise for the last 5 minutes. There's a question that keeps coming up.
I don't think I've ever met a pizza I didn't like, just to put it out there. I think pizza can't really do much wrong.
Unless you're celiac.
Even bad pizza is still pizza, which makes it better.
It's one of those foods. Burgers, pizzas, baguettes, cheese. We had a question. Oh God. Couldn't even cheers to bad food. We've had a question come up quite a bit. The latest one from John Merrick. You guys seem to have a very close relationship with Buxton. How did that come about? And I guess it is still going, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually through another UK brewery, Siren. So we met the Buxton guys for the first time through the Rainbow Project that Siren arranges. I'm not sure if they do it every year still, but they would invite 7 international breweries, out of which we were one, and 7 UK breweries to kind of collaborate on one beer each, inspired by a color of the rainbow. And so we were introduced to Buxton. We'd had their beers. We thought their beers were fantastic, but we didn't know them personally. And we were introduced, and we were given the color yellow. Can you believe it or not? And off we went. And the result was, quite extraordinary from a collaborative standpoint. Like, we really dug very, very deep into the idea of that color and came out with a product that, you know, it's been exported to 50 plus countries. Just like had an enormous amount of success and hate and controversy and a bunch of different things, really bringing what we, you know, kind of, again, kind of put beer into a different context. I still meet people at dinner parties that tell me about this beer and how these breweries are doing something terrible, not knowing that it's actually the brewing operation we run, and so on and so forth. It took on its own life, and we hit it off as people. And so we've made probably 20 to 30 different collaborative beers at this point, where an ice cream series was kind of the next step, and so on and so forth. So it's been a pretty amazing collaboration. I would say we almost grew into one for a while there, it's really how we like to work with collaborative breweries.
We have this question, which I think is pretty good, actually, because some people haven't tasted Yellow Belly. So how would you sort of say it tastes? Because you're very famous for that collab.
Yeah, so the beer was the idea behind the actual liquid that was in the bottle was to make a beer that portrayed itself to be something, but that didn't have any of the natural ingredients, which is very far from kind of the craft, you know, ethos in one way. But it was an imperial stout, very, like, you know, properly crafted, obviously, at this brewery, where we added an aroma. It was the first time we'd ever we'd ever done that. It was like, okay, how do we make it taste like peanut butter and biscuits without adding any of those elements into the beer? And I personally, it's a small artisan aroma company in Sweden. Actually, I like, it's nothing like, we haven't talked about that much, because it was just like the idea of adding aromas into beer just was so controversial in itself. It just felt like there was no point in trying to explain that as well. But it's a family-run company that makes these aromas, and we went for a visit there, and it was just amazing. Like, you would smell, you'd smell these incredible, like, it would just like bring back childhood memories, essentially. We'd also like, I mean, we've probably all read The Perfume when we were younger. Like, it's a scary but enticing book. Like, to me, it was kind of the idea of trying to really capture a flavor in a bottle. Like, went into that visit first time, and we'd had that in the back of our minds for, I think, a year or something when we met Buxton, and we just brought it up. Let's see what that does to this beer. And yeah, the results were amazing. I think for the time, and I think I think I've answered the question.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, the Yellow Belly was a very conceptual beer. I think the most conceptual beer we've done. I mean, we'd never done anything like it before, and it took a lot of thinking, a lot of discussion, and also with them. I mean, we didn't know the guys. And we stuck our necks out, and we wanted to make a statement. I mean, this is a beer that is a comment on the time when it was produced. I mean, it's about racism. It's about European politics. It's about pop culture. It's about all these different things, and it makes you think. And I'm not sure how well it has aged pop culturally, but it's very interesting to relate to it. 2021, second year of COVID, blah, 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 blah. It's a very interesting piece of conceptual expression, at least, I think. And the beer is fucking amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy ass beer. But when it came out, it was shocking to people, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys tried it like early on and stuff, but we've been explaining that beer so many times in so many different ways.
I mean, I was going to say, so I remember tasting it very, very early on. I had the rainbow box, so that came with it. And it was interesting because you say when it came out, it was really shocking. I seem to remember there being, it wasn't almost until like you did a second batch that like the controversy of the actual packaging hit home. I remember we even did a video at Buxton with Colin when he was there, and we did an interview with Colin in which we didn't even really talk about the packaging. I was mostly badgering him to say, how do you get peanut and biscuit in there without having peanut and biscuits in there? And we obviously talked about the collaboration, talked about Omnipollo, and talked about pastry stouts, which had just sort of become a concept. I don't think they were even called pastry stout back then. But we did not really reference the packaging. I think the only thing I remember saying is that it must be a pain to actually put together, like to everyone individually hand roll that. And so we understood the concept, we understood the statement, and we went, and that's brilliant. But it seems as it spread, it started to hit resistance. The bigger it got and the further you got removed from people who, like, just on a granular level went, I understand that this beer is saying, like making a statement about the idea of Yellow Belly, making a statement about the idea of of things being there that aren't actually in there. And like, I guess as the message gets watered down, it seemed more controversial than it probably was in your head at the start. Is that fair?
I'm not sure. I think it keeps on changing. I mean, I think to us a huge step was when it was released in the US, right? Because it's the packaging makes you think of the KKK, right? And there's a different way of looking at it if you're from the States or certain parts of the States. compared to the UK or Sweden or anywhere in Europe, I guess. So we were a little bit worried about how that would be perceived from a US perspective. But the thing is, like, we did that, like the design and the concept of the beer, like the flavors and everything, like the whole packaging, the whole beer was made because we wanted to discuss these issues, right? I mean, we wanted to talk about these things. It wasn't like we want to make something and we want to be right, like fuck you, We made something that we could talk about. We made it's a statement, but it's something that we wanted to bring something up that we didn't think was talked about enough, right, Henok? Well, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, Jonny, every beer we make is a pain to put together. So it wasn't
That's true.
In that regard. But I think that I agree. I think we got away with a bunch of things before a certain point. Like a lot of the beers we made before Yellow Belly, I actually thought like people would go ape shit. Like I was worried, like, are we going to release this beer? Like, this is just going to be, like, we've done a couple of beers before that. And then we released Yellow Belly. And I agree with you, Jonny. I was like, it was like a vacuum. Like, what, like, okay, like we got away with it, And then we released batch 2, batch 3, batch 4. And I think it wasn't until like batch 5 or something in the US. And by that time, mind you, it's been in the US and the South, bottle shop owners are like unwrapping the bottles and like putting them on the shelf basically because they want to stock it because they're great, but they don't want to have like a lot of hassle around like discussing it and stuff. And then like, I think, last year, like it just hit like CNN, BBC, a couple of like different media outlets in just one go. And it kind of shook me because as Karl said, like, how well does things age? You do something because you want to have a discussion about it in that specific year. And then 5 years or 6 years later, the landscape might look completely different. We were coming from a pretty simple place. It was like we were handed a color, in this case, yellow. We were like paired up with a brewery, super amazing, fantastic family of ours at this point. And we had this challenge to kind of tackle. And me and Karl have been talking back and forth about a frustration we had around like this, it was the EU election had just like, they'd just been like completed, and a much like smaller percentage of voters had declared in the polls that they'd voted for a right-wing party than was actually the case.
The exit polls.
In the exit polls, and we were discussing like what's cowardice, like what is it to be a coward, and that kind of felt like a cowardice move. Like you voted for somebody, and you walk out of the poll, you get asked the question who you voted for, and you give another answer, and then in fact you don't vote. And so it was a pretty tearing discussion. And Omnipollo at that time was me and Karl, and we have political opinions, we want to express them. Today, those political opinions are an aggregate of mine and Karl's political opinions and the rest of the team that work at Omnipollo, but we'll still keep on doing that stuff. I mean, again, like I could think of 5 other projects we've done that could have been just as explosive in a way. But I think the visual aspect of it, I think beer aficionados were more focused on the liquid and the kind of merits of what we were doing, whereas people outside of that world were kind of focused on the visual aspect and kind of chose to focus on a certain aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say I think kudos to you guys because it also, did just come after Trump being voted in, and I think that people hadn't really been using beer as a political statement back then, and now we talk about a lot of breweries who have made them, but you guys were one of the first to do it. And sometimes I think that's been lost. I think it was brave, and it was a brilliant statement to make as well. Because like you say, you didn't want to be seen as right. You just wanted to ask that question. And I think that's what Yellow Belly did so incredibly well. And the beer itself was also delicious, which is the perfect way to put a statement across. It was a remarkable bit of, like you say, like pop art of making art, beer into art. It was brilliant, and I loved it. So we've hit 9:30, which is traditionally when we start our Ask Us Anything, but we haven't quite cracked the last beer. Now, before we crack the last beer, there's a question I've been sat on that is a great question that I wanted to come to. So we're going to answer that question as we pour the next beer, and then we'll chat about it. And the question comes from Jessica. And she asks, how long does it take you to put together your ice cream and beer photos for Instagram? They're always so mouthwatering. So I'd love to have a chat about what kind of food styling goes into your absolutely insane Instagram account.
Jessica.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for noticing. I think that, I mean, you know, we're a big group of people putting our efforts into that. You know, I mean, Marie, Sam, me, a bunch of people at the office, Carl, and I think that one thing we've been really mindful about is to try to have this more documentary kind of approach to it. I guess the simple answer is like we only use Instagram filters. Like there's no professional photography going into what we do. But it's really I think with working with Carl's art, it's kind of easy to make it look nice. You know, I guess my job and the brew team's job is just to make sure the liquid looks okay. But it takes a little bit of time, like you know, an hour or two per day or something, which is usually comes at a very inconvenient time of the day because we get a new beer into the office or whatever it is.
This is another sort of figure from antiquity. It's almost like Mesopotamian or something. I can't think what it is. It looks a bit like a griffon, but I know it's not. It's something more ancient than that. What is it, Karl? Oh, he's gone.
I think Karl probably.
Henok, you know what this figure is on the front? The bird.
Yeah. I'm gonna save that one for Karl actually. If I want to.
Okay, come back.
I think Karl's either passed out in the sauna or it's just been the alcohol.
We can blame him.
He'll be back. Okay, well, while we wait for Karl to come back and explain the label, so blueberry, coconut, hazelnut, imperial stout. Now, probably, I mean, I loved Yellow Belly, but the beer that really blew me away was, I presume, your first blueberry imperial stout, which was Anagram.
Yeah, that's right.
So is this sort of a logical extension of that beer?
Yes and no. I mean, so first of all, Horace is an incredible stout brewery that we've tried a couple of things from. This year again has really been like different in the regard that, you know, we would usually get on a flight and fly over to the US, or in this case California, to brew a beer together, but it's been much more about US version and a European version of whatever it is that we do. And so we were in talks with Kyle around what we could do, and he's very good with hazelnuts. So that's kind of where we started working together. It was like, should we do something with hazel? It just felt like his signature trait. He did something with pecans, which is kind of our signature trait, looking at Noah Pecan Mud Cake, which is kind of a core beer in our portfolio. And then we wanted to add a dimension, a fruity dimension, an element to the beer we were making. And blueberries came in that way. So this is blueberries, coconut, and hazelnut in our case. And he made a US version, which has the same both ingredients, but with pecans instead. And I think that one thing, again, that separates this from Anagram is that this doesn't have any aromas. And which Anagram has. This is real blueberries in a very large quantity, which is, again, interesting. I think we're at a place right now where we're moving away from that a little bit in favor of really trying to get these, like, as much natural flavor into these beers as we can. Where I think flavor is really where it comes through as opposed to aromas. And so, yeah, I guess that would kind of be the dotted line between anagram and this. Like, there's definitely we love blueberries just overall, but it's just a very different way of using them in this beer, I think.
Yeah. I mean, now I've tasted it, my question seems a bit crass because it is an entirely different thing. There's so much. Do you toast the coconuts? It's coconut oily, unctuous toastedness. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's toasted coconuts, toasted hazelnuts, and a large amount of blueberry puree that's gone into this.
I absolutely love it. We'll see what the comments are saying, but I think it's absolutely brilliant.
We got a question regarding the artwork here.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, we want to do something with birds. That's like the horse thing. Like they make these amazing. Their artwork is usually about like it's like paintings of birds or something. And they were sending us a bunch of really beautiful like oil paintings, actually, of I think hawks or something like that. And obviously, we're Omnipollo, right? So we're like godlike human bird people. For the first time ever, I wanted to make like a bird deity type thing. Like, so I made this. Actually made like 100 drawings, but this was the one that I used. It's like a female, sort of ancient Greek-looking.
To me, it's. I mean, Horus is like an Egyptian hawk god, which isn't. But this looks like.
This has nothing to do with Horus.
Nothing to do with Horus. Right. It's like ancient Mesopotamian kind of like
yes, and a little bit of Greek, right?
Lady, it's kind of amazing. I love it.
A lady, old dude with wings.
Exactly. with the like chinny moustache.
I think if we translate that into Latin, we could get away with that as a name for a bird.
Maybe Hebrew.
Hebrew, maybe, yeah. Right, so guys, we're getting towards the end of the evening. We love your questions. So it's Ask Us Anything time. So it can be a question to us on Apollo. It can be directed at Sam and Marie or Henok or Karl. Just send it through, and we'll try and get through as many as we absolutely can. Usually it gets a little bit chaotic, but we'll try to keep up. If you really, really want a question asked, or you really just want to say something, you can just use the super chat function. You just give a little donation, a little tip to the craft beer channel, and it will come up and we'll answer it as the next question. But otherwise, yeah, just send those in. I know we've missed a couple, so don't feel bad about reposting questions we've missed, because we've tried to keep up as we've gone through. The first question I've seen lots of times and I've never quite got to is obviously COVID depending. Are there plans for you guys to come to the UK, either collab with breweries or do tap takeovers or meet some people?
We're dreaming about it every day. Like I literally miss the UK every day, and it's I think, you know, going to Buxton, obviously. I mean, there are, I would say, probably 5 or 6 UK-based breweries we've been in talks with regarding coming to the church. But I mean, it's our cunning plan is obviously get invited to them. So, you know, we built the church to get people to owe us stuff. But yeah, I'm not going to name drop. But we're definitely coming. I mean, as soon as there's the world opens up a little bit more. How's vaccination going in the UK? You're done?
Yeah, we're done, mate. Yep.
I've got my first vaccination next Friday, and I'm nearly 40 years old. Believe it or not, wearing a backwards baseball hat.
Keeping it fresh.
That's amazing, though. So you guys, I mean, yeah, you'll be done before us.
Yeah, everyone older than me is vaccinated, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
in Sweden, it's like you have to be 50 years or older to get vaccinated.
Wow.
But it's like
10 years behind.
Yeah, exactly.
We're 10 years behind, as usual.
Yeah.
I stupidly turned on the television before this broadcast, and they were talking about the Indian variant now being sort of big thing.
It's gonna fuck up your vaccination thing, right?
I know. I'm pretty scared about that.
It's going to ruin that Omnipollo takeover at the Beer Merchant's Tap. That's what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Falco asks, how do collabs like Omnipoloscope work in practice with traveling so many breweries involved? How are ideas and recipes taken care of?
I mean, that's
so Omnipoloscope was very special. It was very, very special. That was, I mean, I'm just gonna introduce this and leave it to Henok. But I mean, this was something dreamt up by Henok, and I mean, us being whatever you call it, like a nomadic brewery or whatever, and now we have our own like home turf. But I think Henok, he like perfected the idea of going places and brewing beers. You know, going to see his idols, people that he liked, people that he enjoyed hanging out with, like the guy next to him right now. And Omnipollo, did he just leave? Okay. Anyway, so
Omnipollo, the audience, Karl.
Okay, whatever. Gotta take the lead. So Omnipoloscope was basically like the ultimate version of that, right, Henok?
Yeah, I mean,
collaborating with everyone that you like.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, I've definitely not like I you know, we bum around for sure, but in that specific case, it just felt like let's gather, you know, a bunch of the greatest minds in beer, you know, us not being a part of that bunch, you know, necessarily, but just wanting to be in the same room and, you know, try to make something that's special for as many people as possible. And I think that it took 2 years to make Omnipoloscope. That's why we, at that time, decided we weren't going to do it every year. We were going to do it every other year at the most. But it was 30 of the kind of best brewers, in our opinion, collaborating around 5 beers. And practically the way it worked was, okay, let's figure out 5 styles that complement each other that could be served in, you know, let's say 20 different locations. I think we ended up with around 35 around the globe. That could be that where we would fit the brewers in terms of style, and we would go to the specific brewery in the world that could make that beer the best. So it was like Anchorage for the barley wine, you know, meeting up with Menno from the Molen, you know, barrel aging it on Superstition meaderies, like strawberry mead barrels. I mean, it was just like the idea of, and I think if you haven't had it, like if you didn't have those 5 beers, like they do, in my mind at least, or in our mind, they really spoke a clear language around like why we did them at that specific place. Like the beer we brewed at Crooked Stave in Colorado was very much like, you know, within their vein, and like kind of our idea that was the best place to make that beer, and so on and so forth. I think the hoppy breweries we collaborated with were, at the time when we did it, like the very pinnacle of that style. And the idea with the hoppy beer was to make it in as many locations as possible so it could be served fresh. But I mean, like, yeah, like again, like, how did they happen? Like, it's basically me and the Omnipollo crew trying to take part and be as much involved in what goes on in the mind of a magnificent beer maker within a specific style. Like, it's a selfish project, honestly, but that happened to be that we sold as a, you know, generous project in terms of like as many people taking, you know, part of it as possible. I think it turned out very well. I'm pretty proud of that project, actually. It's nice that you brought it up so we can suck on our egos a little bit. But it was, I mean, it's also like the idea of craft beer being like, our crowd has always been very geographically dispersed. Like, it takes a few people in the room to understand like this beer. Like, there aren't going to be that many people in the room to understand this beer. Like, this will never be a huge beer in Sweden. It will never be a huge beer. But if you gather like 5 people in every country, you know, you still have like 80 people that want to drink this beer. Let's make a tasting with those 80 people. Like it's just Omnipollo.
It's a vast subculture.
Yeah, like let's just like slim it down and see like who will join this. And it was pretty amazing actually, because we were all at our tap room in Stockholm, watching each and every location. So like when Tokyo would close, the US would wake up, and like the other way around. It was like location after location would just keep on like posting and sending in their pictures. It was a pretty badass experience from a craft beer geek perspective.
It's an interesting you're just saying, because I wrote an article about how Lambic was sort of how Lambic found its feet again, and it's exactly the same thing. You know, within Belgium, it becomes so niche that there wasn't much room for experimentation or growth. And when they started being able to ship around the world, so Shelton Brothers in the States, when they started taking on lots of these Lambic breweries, and in the UK started importing them, and France and Italy have always been into it. Suddenly they had a business again, because internationally they could get that subculture together. And I think it's true of lots of subcultures around the world that have basically been saved by the internet. You know, we lament the hype machine the whole time, but actually that's the reason that you can be an incredible niche and still be successful, certainly in beer, because you can have that international reputation.
Right.
Yeah. We've got a question from John Merrick. This is a great question. Do you ever worry you've boxed yourself into a corner with some of the outrageous flavor combos? How do you get people excited about classic lagers we started with? I mean, that's the big question for you guys, right now.
That's why we've spent 4 million euros building a brewery. I mean, it's really the truth. Like that church that you see on that picture is like the answer to that. Like we like drinking different styles. Sorry?
It's not a picture, it's real.
Yeah, exactly. That's a fake picture you guys are seeing.
Good save, Sam. Definitely real.
It looks like,
Yeah.
It's a really good sheet CD.
Exactly. That picture just screams, "Come drink our lager." No, but I honestly think that it's an extremely good question. It sums up like, but it also like we've always been worried about being boxed in, and you know, Imperial Stouts, which we're drinking now, was our least like polished style. Like we did not know how to make a dark beer when we kicked this off in 2010, and we were worried about it. We were like, who are we going to work with to kind of figure out how to brew dark beer, you know, or, you know, IPAs before we worked with some of like Jeppe from Evil Twin, for example, which was our second collaboration, and so on and so forth. Like there's always places to go. And I think really for Omnipollo, like we don't want to lose our core, but we definitely want to keep on evolving. And just kicking off a beer tasting with like a German style Pilsner that we've, you know, put a lot of effort and love into, and especially with the whole brewery project, is an answer to that worry.
Mm.
And
But I think
sorry. No, some of our bars here in Stockholm, like our own Flora, Omnipollo's Flora, and Omnipollo's Hut, and our local bar here in where the church is right now having our like our Pilsner on tap, and everyone is just loving it. So it's awesome to have a beer style that no one probably think of when they think of Omnipollo, and it's out there, and it's just being so well received.
Yeah, for sure. I think also like there's a difference in how people consume Omnipollo beers in Sweden and the rest of the world. Like we really have a different crowd depending on the country as well. Like Swedes are a bit more receptive to our less extreme, if you will, kind of beers.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting that the perhaps particularly when you're drinking pints, you're drinking on draft. in a bar, you might not choose the really huge, unusual beers by Omnipollo. Like, I feel like if I went to Omnipollo's hat, probably the first thing I'd order would be a Pilsner or an American Pale, and then I'd ramp up from then. So maybe from an English perspective or American, where some of our viewers are, they're used to seeing the really exciting stuff on the shelf because that's what you want to see when it's imported. But you know, in Sweden, is Omnipollo known a little bit more for the more session strength and classic styles?
Well, yeah, sessionable, and I also think like more of like there's less of a contest, right? Like people go to our bars and they usually come there just because they've heard it's nice. They have no idea what Omnipollo is. Like that brand is such an adaptable concept depending on where you go. So in one country it can be just stouts, and in one country it can just be pilsners, and it's such an immersive experience depending on where you go, but it's also completely different depending on the context. So I think we don't really need to argue for a style or anything depending on, it's just the consumer decides, and then we just hope for the best. We kind of, you know, we'll throw in a stout if they're Pilsner drinkers or vice versa.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Sam. And I think sometimes it's more saturated, sometimes it's more extreme, sometimes it's more subtle. The way, I'm not speaking of you, Henok, but the way I see Omnipollo is that sometimes it's just like, it's like super far out, but that like far out way of thinking can also be quite subtle. I mean, like playing around with Pilsners and trying to relate to like a traditional style, or, you know, like, what would like Henok's version of a Czech lager be? You know, if he's doing this, it's like all types. No, but seriously, I mean, there's so many ways of doing it, and I don't think it has to be like what is crazy anyway. I mean, is that just because something tastes like a chocolate cake doesn't make it more crazy than like a Czech fucking Pilsner, right?
Yeah, it's expectation, isn't it? Yeah.
I agree. I think I totally agree with Sam. I think that like we have found like you know, some level of locality which allows us to say, hey, you know, we've had this incredible pale ale when we were in Boston at Trillium. You know, let's brew that beer at the church and deliver it around the Stockholm area. Like that's, you know, that's extreme in one way, and in fact, I think that's one of the beers that's going into tank next, which is a Freaky Friday version of double dry hopped Fort Point from Trillium. Like it's like to be able to bring that experience the same way when we opened Omnipollo's hat, bringing Hired Hands Brewing Company for a week to our bar to completely take over all the taps and do their own food and serve their own beer to our local crowd. Like that's, I mean, it allows for subtleties to come through, but still it's an extreme effort that goes into it, and it's an extreme feat, you know, to kind of try to bring, you know, California or the west or the east coast of the US to Stockholm. If we can do that in the UK, that's great too. And in a way, you know, just being able to serve this beer to you guys from the church, I think, which by the way still smells like a hop bag when I put it close to my nose. Like, it's a fun. I mean, it's nothing extreme about the beer. It's just a nice, fun thing to be able to do.
Mm-hmm. We've got. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we've just had a super chat. Let's bring the super chat on. If you had one place if you had to place one of your beers in a film, what beer would it be? Great question.
Yeah. Imagine drinking a boy in Blade Runner. That would be so good. It would not smell like a bag of hops at that point because it's like so far into the future.
Yeah, I think we can accept that if the world goes to shit like in Blade Runner, there's probably not going to be fresh hops being shipped in cold stores around.
I could see Corbin Dallas in The Fifth Element, which is basically like a modern Blade Runner, drinking a boy. It looks like a sort of 90s Luc Besson kind of beer I could imagine being drunk.
Yeah, I mean, I think boy would work in most movies actually. I mean, that's I think that's a great example. I mean, Blade Runner would be perfect. I think Alien maybe like the one boy on one of the alien ships happening.
Maybe it would have stopped them falling out. You just have a boy.
We did see the best example the other day. I mean, it's not a movie per se, but when Devin the Dude, our favorite rapper from Texas, gave us a shout out on Instagram, that was my favorite movie of the year.
I agree.
Devin the Dude. I'm Googling.
I don't know. It would have been nice to see some type of like packaging run in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory of like Noah Peak and Mudcake.
Yeah.
I also
Charlie.
feel that people aren't drinking beers out of a can, are they? It's some sort of like they're inhaling it through like a cloud, or it'd be like an Omnipollo room, something. Like they're not opening a can in the future. They don't have time for that. There's a war going on, like it's post-apocalyptic. They're just breathing it in somehow.
Exactly.
Okay, if you were in a futuristic sci-fi movie and your beer had to be in a state of matter, would it be a gas, a vapor, a plasma, or liquid?
Depends on beer style, surely.
And why?
I say a liquid, but then it's like just because it's been like the other things in between, but then it's like back to liquid.
Back to liquid. Okay, so it's a liquid, but it's only a liquid because it's under immense pressure. So you're in like some sort of crazy suit, and you're sort of like in an S&M thing, and it's like injecting up.
I'm thinking more like an ayahuasca situation.
Ah, cool, like a proper trip.
I'm thinking like
What do you think beer is?
Somehow become beer for a certain amount of time, and then you suddenly appear on the holodeck, and then you're fine. Like you have like a state where your entire existence is beer for a second, and then you're back to
life is beer.
Truly a utopia.
Wow, I like it.
Truly, just become beer for hot seconds.
Got a question from Sam Phillips, who apologizes for posting 3 times. That's okay. Don't worry about it. How do you come up with the flavor combinations? Do you go through a tasting process like chefs? How many recipes? This is my favorite bit. How many recipes get binned to create a beer that you're happy with?
Yeah, I mean, it changes over time, and I think that we've tried to put stuff out before we bin them. So honestly speaking, like we don't bin that many recipes. We try them, and like I mean, like you're essentially our trash can, you know. If you don't like it, we bin them. But I mean, it's no, but honestly, like if we start getting worried about whether something's gonna work or not, I mean, obviously, if it doesn't taste good out of tank, we don't release it. But there's always this element of, even when it comes to a simple thing as a pale ale or an IPA or a Pilsner or whatever it is, of like just letting go and seeing what the feedback is. Like I've had beers that have almost spooked me in the sense that I've found them almost undrinkable, and we get incredible feedback. It doesn't happen that much anymore, but especially during our early years, it just felt like, wow, you know, like there is something to learn here. Like we can dial this down a little bit, we can dial this up a little bit and get to a point where, you know, we like the beer and the drinkers like the beer, you know. It's a weird approach, I think. And it's kind of it's like kind of the idea that whatever happens, we're going to release the first beer from the brewery. Like we knew that before. It was like, whatever it is, we're going to release it, you know. And it's scary, obviously. I think on Untapped, we're at like 2.2 million ratings or something. I mean, that's a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible asset and a tool, especially with social media as well. It's like it's basically a roadmap to kind of where we want to go. So, I mean, there are obviously some recipes that are just, if we trash a recipe, more often than not, it's because it's just not viable in terms of what we can do and not do. Like there's an ingredients that we just could not get a hold of. Like there was a specific ingredient last year that I wanted to source from China. Like COVID came, we just couldn't do it. Like there was a very clear reason for not doing it. But I would say that's a handful in a year, out of 100 executed beers.
Can you tell us what that? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the brewery as well, like in the church, because the approach is obviously different when we brew in our own brewery, in our own church, compared to when we go somewhere. I mean, what makes sense is different at home and going somewhere, right? Do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes we have to bring like a certain ingredients that's like, unique to us. Or it's all about like Henok's very unique recipe writing or whatever. But like going somewhere, like being a nomadic brewery, like we've been in for 10 years. We have to bring something new to the mix, and opening up our own brewery is something completely different.
So we've had two questions kind of along that line of doing something completely different. The first one is slightly off what Henok said, which is what ingredient have you always wanted to put in beer that you haven't quite managed it yet? So can you say what the ingredient from China was going to be, or if there's something else you'd love to have put in beer that you guys haven't quite managed yet?
I think it was a blue potato.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
And we were like, for some reason, I mean, we always have at any given point, including now, we have ingredients on its way from basically every corner of the planet. And, for some reason, that specific ingredient just got a hold up. It was like, I mean, March 2020, and you're trying to get something from China. It just wasn't happening, And we're probably going to go through with that recipe at some point, but it was like, it's not viable. Like, we had to, it was just not viable at that specific time. But I think that as an idea, very, like a lot of the things, like we just put them out there. I think it probably goes for Karl too. Like I don't speak for Karl and his process, but my feeling is that you put stuff out there to kind of see what the reaction is, as opposed to saying, hey, here are, 50 sketches of Yellow Belly. Let's wait and see, whatever the focus group has or whatever. Like, I mean, this is our focus group. Like, that's why we're sitting here in this phone call. Like, let's figure out kind of what felt good, what didn't feel good, and move on from there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting approach, like you say. Like a lot of companies would do all the market research, then put it out there. But the best, although most risky market research, is to literally be out there and see what comes back. And it's been interesting in the comments today to see, every beer's had a different reaction from everybody, and most of it's been wholly positive. But even from the positive stuff, you learn stuff. You didn't know that there was maybe mint choc chip vibes to the to the Gosa and stuff like that. So I guess beer is often accused of just going into its own bubble and getting more and more insular. And by putting it all out there, you might learn more.
Henok, you guys are known, for you, like you say, you've got ingredients arriving from all around the world all of the time. Is there an ingredient that is so expensive, so rare, so hard to get that you want it, but you can't get it? Is there something that you just that is unobtainable that you want to put in a beer?
It's usually not a cost thing, honestly, which is to our detriment a lot of the time. But it's it might be an ingredient. It might be an ingredient that we can get a limited amount of, like a specific vanilla or fruit is usually. I mean, the seasonality also. Like sometimes you can get a fruit and the next minute you can't. I think. As with most breweries, like it's the truth. Like it's the case for everybody. Like hops, obviously, like there might be right now we're very focused on lots of hops. So it's like, can we get more of this lot? You know, and I think that it would be, yeah, a lot of breweries can relate to that. Like, can we get more of this hop, you know, or whatever, in this quantity to this with this specific lot number or whatever it is. But yeah, it's just so many, you know. It's yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that we're trying to get, but it's usually not a cost thing. It's more a scarcity thing.
Yeah.
Like that super chat that's just come in, Jonny. That's an ingredient I've enjoyed in the past.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Okay, you
Cloudberry.
yeah, you got
Cloudberry.
it. Cloudberry is definitely a hard one. And every Swedish brewer or every Swede has a childhood memories of eating like crispy waffles with cream and cloudberry jam.
Yeah,
And
no doubt.
you know, that's definitely a seasonality thing.
Some brown cheese ice cream with that.
Sorry, some what?
Brown cheese ice cream.
That's
That's more
Norwegian.
Norwegian.
I know it's Norwegian. Well,
Come on, Bradley.
very much cultural references.
How didn't you learn? You should have learned from the Ipa incident.
But am I right in thinking cloudberries cannot be commercially grown? They're only in the wild, right? You can't grow them. They're too wild to be sort of.
Yeah, I mean, you're only getting a beer. I need a beer.
Cirkel.
We did make cloudberry ice cream beer though.
Bye.
That is true.
I think you might be. But I mean, this guy works so much with Swedish fruits, I would say. But I mean, you're the fruit guru. Like, what's the deal with cloud? Why is it so hard to get a hold of?
It's hard because you get when I work with cloudberry, I always get like a fishy, subtle fishy aroma in it. So,
Whoa.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why. I
I thought you were going to say, like, I get a fishy cloudberry dealer.
Fishy cloudberry dealer. No, but I mean, honestly, like so the beer that we're brewing now is brewed with wild blueberries, which is hard to get a hold of, like as well, and so there's always a scarcity issue if something has to be scaled. But I think we're kind of focused on getting it right and then figuring out the scaling part later. And for sure, there's some beers in our portfolio where it's been like, wow, you know, like how do we get more, whatever, wild blueberries or whatever it is. And yeah, but usually that's, yeah, you can salvage that in one way or another.
Alrighty, well,
I
guys,
never used that amount of berries before. That guy,
we paid him to say that.
he's crazy.
was that Henok saying it's not enough? What you're saying?
About Blade Runner and stuff. He's the Spade Odyssey. I fucking love it, but I don't get it. You know?
Oh dear. Guys, well, I think we're going to have to end it there. We've been going for 2.5 hours. I think it's well, I've got some mind sweeping to do, and then it's bedtime. I've got some lovely stuff to finish up. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you guys. I hope everyone in the comments agrees. These beers are, you know, really exciting. But what's been great, even just within the last year, has been to see, you know, we had 2 beers tonight that were classic examples of brilliant. I wouldn't call it quite traditional brewing, but you know, it's really great to see you guys start to move towards what you guys can produce in your own brewery and to try and dial down into ingredients and making those sing. That's really exciting to see that extra string to Omnipollo's bow. And we can't wait to come to the church and see what you guys have done.
Well, we're coming to brew a beer, aren't we, Jonny?
Apparently, yeah, I think we agreed that about half an hour ago. Yeah, that's definitely happening.
Yeah, roll that thing over.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking forward to seeing you guys roll that thing over.
Yeah, man. Jonny's great at cycling. He's going to cycle it over.
Well, I'm towing it. Awesome.
Yeah.
There we go.
Super chat just come through, Jonny, but...
Oh, goodness. Okay, no, we can't miss the super chat, and then we'll wind it down. plans for a faithful CBC Patreons? Yes, 100%, Sean. Brad and I were talking about that today, which is what I was going to wind up with. So if you've enjoyed the show, we do these shows monthly. You can join them every month for free. You can buy the taste along boxes, which lots of people have done today. You can also join our Patreon, which gives you access to our Discord forum. It's just an online chat room. We've got about 250 beer geeks in there nerding out about homebrewing, doing bottle shares online. We had a pub quiz once, and then you can ask us anything and learn lots. That costs you $1 to get in, and that supports the channel. That's how we do what we do. While we're doing a quick plug, beer merchants, Cave Direct, who helped us organize this and shipped all the beers out to the people doing the taste along boxes, you can get 10% off Omnipollo beers throughout May with the code Omnipollo10. So please do that on beer merchants. And obviously support your independent retailers and brewers, particularly right now. They really need you. The big players are making some moves, and it's really affecting the small and independents, the people that don't have big cash reserves. So please support your independent brewers and retailers.
Going back to Sean's question, let's take it onto the Patreon chat and we'll decide where we're going to have a meetup.
Okay, so after party in the Patreon forum is what Brad is basically saying there.
I'm also super tired, so
I didn't realize we'd lost Sam and Marie there for a second, but they're back. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on board, Sam, Marie, Henok, and Karl.
Thank you.
As always, when we chat with you guys, I'm blown away by the thought that goes into it, the recipes that go into it, and the beers as well. And long may that continue. And yeah, we can't wait to come to the church and maybe do a collab together. That would be amazing. And thank you everyone in the comments as well for chatting.
I'm coming as long as I'm allowed to wear one of your bomber jackets, and then I'm coming. I'm buying my aeroplane ticket, and I'm there.
We'll bring the jacket. You bring the badges. How's that? Let's compromise somewhere, Brad.
All right.
I feel like you just steal one for a while, based on previous experience.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us and for following up. And let's do this again in a year, and we'll blow you off your chairs.
Hell
How
yeah.
about we do it together right here in a year?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We'll make it an annual thing. It sounds amazing.
Let's everyone be in the church together.
I love it. That sounds like something a cult leader might say. I think it's mandatory now that any cult brewery has to recite themselves in a place of worship.
It's been a long game, but craft is getting there. Cheers, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we hope to see you in the flesh very soon.
Thanks for having us.
For you guys and the comments. All the best.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Night.
Love and beer.